lines, and whenever our first narrator is ready, she will take it away.
Seated in front of a colored backing is a magnificent masked man in a superhero suit. Early 30s, ruggedly handsome and powerfully built, he fiddles with a clip-on microphone. We're watching a faded documentary shot in 16 millimeters. A title fades in, identifying the man as Mr. Incredible.
Is this on? I can break through walls, but I can't get one of these things on.
He finally gets the clip secured and settles in.
So, Mr. Incredible, do you have a secret identity?
Incredible stops tinkering with the mic and looks towards the camera. He flashes his patented megawatt smile.
Well, every superhero has a secret identity. I mean, I don't know a single one who doesn't. What's the pressure of being super all the time?
The documentary continues. Another striking masked superhero, a woman this time. A title identifies her as Elastigirl.
Of course I have a secret identity. Who'd want to go shopping as Elastigirl? You know what I mean?
The documentary continues. Yet another superhero, sleek, black, dressed in an ice blue suit. Super title, Frozone.
Super ladies always want to tell you their secret identity. Think it'll strengthen the relationship or something. I say, girl, I don't want to know about your mild-mannered alter ego or anything like that. You tell me you're super mega ultra lightning, babe? That's all right with me. I'm good.
No matter how many times you save the world, it always manages to get back in jeopardy again. I mean, sometimes I just wanted to stay saved for a little bit. I feel like the maid. I just cleaned up this mess. Can we keep it clean for 10 minutes, please? Sometimes I just like the simple life, you know? Relax a little, raise a family.
Settle down? Are you kidding? I'm at the top of my game. I'm right up there with the big dogs. I mean, come on. Leave saving the world to the men? I don't think so. I don't think so.
The Incredibles. We're in Municiberg. Streets. Late afternoon. Sirens wail. Lights flash. We're in the middle of a classic car chase. A police car in hot pursuit of another car driven by armed bank robbers. The robber riding shotgun primes his submachine gun and unloads on the cop car, which swerves into oncoming traffic to avoid the hail of bullets. Inside another car not too far away, Bob Parr, a dashing golden-haired man in his late 20s, listens to his radio. If he looks familiar, it's because he is the same man we saw earlier, Mr. Incredible, sans mask and supersuit. Suddenly, the music is interrupted by an announcer.
We interrupt for an important bulletin. A deadly high-speed pursuit between police and armed gunmen is underway traveling northbound on San Pablo Boulevard.
Bob presses a button. The radio flips, converting to a screen filled with a moving aerial map of the city streets. He types in, "Isolate Pursuit." 2 red dots appear, moving quickly over the map. He makes a hard right turn, looks at the screen. A tiny eye icon, Mr. Incredible's logo, closes in on the 2 red dots. He checks his watch.
I've got time.
And presses another button, auto drive, and types in, "Merge Pursuit." Bob takes his hands off the wheel, and a rapid series of automated actions begin. The seat back drops flat. The passenger seat folds against the window as the driver's seat slides to the center. Bob raises his arms as metal bands lock around his waist, then separate, sliding apart toward his head and his toes, removing his clothes to reveal his slick, brightly colored Mr. Incredible supersuit underneath. He presses another button. The car's exterior converts into the coolest retro-futuristic vehicle ever seen, the Incredible. Mr. Incredible looks up. Through the windshield, we see an old lady waving us down.
Mr. Incredible! Oh, Mr. Incredible!
On a residential street, Mr. Incredible pulls up. His window whooshes open.
What is it, ma'am?
My cat, Squeaker, won't come down.
Incredible glances at his screen. The pursuit is headed his way. He thinks, making some quick calculations. Then...
Certainly, ma'am. But I suggest you stand clear. There could be trouble.
Oh no, he's quite tame.
The pursuit continues. The cop car pulls back in behind the robber's car. The cops are firing now and closing in. Back to Incredible and the cat tree. Nervously checking the pursuit on his video screen, Incredible rips the tree out from the ground. He tips it, leaning it across to the lady just as the car chase squeals into view at the end of the block. Incredible sees this and hastily shakes the tree, trying to dislodge the cat. But back to the car chase again. The cars swerve into view now, bordering the park that Incredible is in. Incredible sees them and shakes the cat even harder. Chase cars close in. Incredible. Car chase, the cat, chase, cat. One final shake, and then Squeaker drops into the old lady's hands. Incredible raises the tree up and slams it down on the hood of the crook's car, squashing it like a bug. Later, Incredible tamps down on the loose dirt at the base of the freshly replanted tree and smiles at his admirers.
Thank you, Mr. Incredible. You've done it again.
Yeah, you're the best.
I'm just here to help.
Attention! We have a tour bus robbery in the vicinity of Paradise and Solano.
Incredible frowns and looks at his watch. He makes a calculation, muttering to himself.
I still got time. Officers, ma'am, squeakers.
He jumps into the Incredible and is startled to find a pudgy kid wearing a mask and a homemade superhero costume sitting in the passenger seat.
Who are you supposed to be?
Well, I'm Incrediboy.
Mr. Incredible stares warily at the awkwardly costumed kid. He's starting to look familiar.
No, you're that kid from the fan club. Brofree, but Buddy!
My name is Incrediboy.
Look, I've been nice. I've stood for photos, signed every scrap of paper you pushed at me, but this is a bit...
You don't have to worry about training me. I know all your moves, your crime-fighting style, your favorite catchphrases, everything. I'm your #1 fan.
The passenger door whooshes open, and Incrediboy is ejected from the car. Incredible fires the afterburners and peels off, leaving Buddy standing alone. On city rooftops minutes later, a trail of stolen goods scattered across a rooftop leads us to a thief. He mutters to himself as he roots through a stolen purse, disregarding some items, stuffing others into his pockets. A shadow looms on the wall behind him.
You know.
The snatcher looks up. Incredible grins.
You can tell a lot about a woman by the contents of her purse, but maybe that's not what you had in mind.
Incredible closes in on him. The snatcher drops the purse, pulls a gun. An arm suddenly stretches into frame and delivers a right cross to the snatcher's jaw, knocking him out cold. Incredible looks up and sees a dazzling masked woman in an equally dazzling suit. She smiles.
Elastigirl.
Mr. Incredible.
Elastigirl moves to the snatcher, begins to pick him up.
It's all right. I've got him.
Sure you've got him. I just took him out for you.
Sure, you took him out. His attention was on me.
A fact I exploited in order to do my job.
My job, you mean?
A simple thank you will suffice.
Thanks, but I don't need any help.
Elastigirl assesses him, slowly moves closer.
Whatever happened to ladies first?
Whatever happened to equal treatment?
Hey, look, the lady got me first, okay?
Elastigirl cold cocks the crook with one stretched punch.
We could share, you know.
I work alone.
Elastigirl smiles, moves very close to Incredible.
Well, I think you need to be more...
In one fluid motion, she loops around his body, suddenly behind him, and before he can turn, back in front again.
flexible.
You, doing anything later?
I have a previous engagement.
She makes a little stutter step to the edge of the roof and jumps, flips, loops, and stretches across the rooftops like a liquid cat, disappearing into the setting sun. Mr. Incredible lets out a low whistle. That is a woman. Moments later, Incredible handcuffs the purse snatcher to a pipe.
Now you just stay right there. They usually pick up the garbage in an hour.
Hey, Incredible!
Incredible turns. A helicopter sweeps past, machine guns blazing back towards its pursuer. Frozone swoops down, hot in its tail, surfing a sheet of ice that materializes in his path.
Frozone!
Frozone leaps, grabbing onto one of the chopper's skids.
Shouldn't you be getting ready?
Incredible frowns, glancing at his watch. He yells at the retreating copter.
Hey, I still got time!
Off screen, a woman screams. Incredible runs to the edge of the building and looks down. A large crowd is gathered on the streets below. Incredible follows their upwards gaze to the roof of a skyscraper where a man stands poised to jump, then does. Incredible quickly gauges distances and then dives off the edge, making a spectacular leap high above the street and tackles the jumper in midair. They crash through an enormous window on the far side. Meanwhile, inside Bank Building in the lobby area, and tumble to the floor in a shower of glass. And now they're safe.
My collarbone. I think you broke it.
With counseling, I think you'll come to forgive me. Wait a minute.
Mr. Incredible slides the jumper over to a desk and props him up against it. His acute senses turn his attention to the hallway toward the elevators. As he follows his ears, we become aware of a sound, a tiny series of regular beeps. Beep, beep, beep. Incredible locates a spot on the wall and presses one ear against it. The beeps accelerate. Beep, 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 beep. Bob starts to push away and boom. The hallway is filled with smoke and debris. A silhouette emerges from the newly blown hole in the wall. A tall, rangy man in a mime costume carrying 2 stuffed duffel bags. He surveys the scene with a wicked smile. A vault door is embedded into the hallway, into the wall directly opposite the hole. It moves aside, revealing Incredible behind it, dazed but unharmed. He sees the mime and growls.
Bon voyage.
And Incrediboy.
Both Mr. Incredible and Voyage turn and stare in disbelief at the kid, who awkwardly flies over to them.
Incredible.
Are you curious about how I got around so fast? Have you brought they're made from?
Go home, buddy, now!
Little oof.
Can we talk? You always tell people, be true to yourself, but you never say which part of yourself to be true to. Well, I finally figured out who I am, and I'm your ward, Incrediboy.
And now you've officially carried it too far, buddy.
There is an ugly flash in Buddy's eyes.
It's because I don't have powers, isn't it? Not every hero has powers, you know. You can be super without them. I invented these boots. I can fly. Can you fly?
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
Yes, and your outfit is ridiculous.
Just give me one chance. I'll show you. I'll go get the police.
As Buddy jogs to the shattered window, Incredible sees that Voyage has clipped a small bomb onto Buddy's cape.
Buddy, don't!
It'll only take a second, really.
No! Stop! There's a bomb!
He grabs Buddy's cape just as Incrediboy takes off, taking Incredible with him. Above the Municiberg, moving. It's nighttime still. Incredible and the boy rocket wildly out of control, spraying sparks in every direction. Mr. Incredible grabbing at the cape desperately for the bomb.
Let go! You're wrecking my flight pattern! Let go of my cape! You're gonna rip it!
Incredible finally grabs hold of the bomb and flings it free. He and the bomb fall onto the elevated train tracks below. The bomb explodes, blowing away a large section of track. Incredible groggily looks up. A train is coming and headed straight for the section of track that is no longer there. Incredible sets his jaw and starts running toward the oncoming train, leaping the chasm to intercept the train before it gets there. He pulls up and plants himself. The expression on his face says it all. This is gonna hurt. The train hits! Mr. Incredible taking the full impact. Rail ties break behind Incredible's feet, spraying in all directions as Incredible miraculously wrestles the train to a stop. Streets below the trestle. Police and paramedics have arrived, cordoning off the accident scene and treating the injured. Mr. Incredible hands Buddy over to the police.
Take this one home and make sure his mom knows what he's been doing.
I can help you. You're making a mistake.
The cops shove Buddy into the back seat of their car.
The injured jumper. You sent paramedics?
They're already picked him up.
The blast in that building was caused by Bon Voyage, who I caught in the act of robbing the vault. We might be able to nab him if we set up a perimeter.
You mean he got away?
Well, yeah. Skippy here made sure of that.
Incrediboy.
You're not affiliated with me!
A tiny alarm sounds. Incredible checks his wristwatch.
Holy smokes, I'm late. Listen, I gotta be somewhere.
He signals the Incredibill with the remote. It roars into view, squeals to a stop next to him.
But what about Bon Voyage?
Like any other night, I'd go after him myself, but I've really got to go. Don't worry, we'll get him, eventually.
He fires the afterburners. The cops watch in dismay as the Incredibill roars off. Meanwhile, at a downtown cathedral, the Incredibill pulls up in front, converting back into a sedan. Inside the cathedral lobby, Mr. Incredible enters, dressed smartly in a tux, fumbling with his tie.
You're very late.
Is the night still young? How do I look?
His best man, Lucius, aka Frozone, stops him before he...
The mask. You still got the mask.
Best reaches up and pulls off his Mr. Incredible mask. Bob takes a deep breath and pushes open the chapel doors.
Showtime.
In the chapel, Bob the groom stands at the altar with his bride Helen, who he quickly realizes also Elastigirl.
Robert Golden, do you take Helena True to be your lawful wedded wife?
Cutting it kind of close, don't you think?
You need to be more flexible.
I love you, but if we're gonna make this work, you've got to be more than Mr. Incredible. You know that, don't you?
As long as you both shall live.
I do.
They kiss. A crowd of superheroes cheer from the pews.
As long as we both shall live, no matter what happens.
We're superheroes. What could happen?
There's video footage of an anchorwoman who reports from a news desk. A chyron displays the visage of Mr. Incredible.
In a stunning turn of events, a superhero is being sued for saving someone who apparently didn't want to be saved. The plaintiff, Oliver Sansweet, who was foiled in his attempted suicide by Mr. Incredible, has filed suit against him, the famed superhero, in Superior Court.
Outside of the courthouse, Sansweet's lawyer stands next to him on the crowded front steps and speaks to a cluster of reporters.
Mr. Sansweet didn't ask to be saved. Mr. Sansweet didn't want to be saved. And the injury received from Mr. Incredible's actions caused him daily pain.
The crowd stirs as a business-suited Mr. Incredible appears and points a threatening finger at Sansweet.
I saved your life!
You ruined my death!
Listen, you little piece of...
My client has no further comment at the time.
In the film footage, we see shots of the train accident scene.
5 days later, another suit was filed by the victims of the L train accident.
The film footage continues. We see shots of a courtroom filled with neck-braced train wreck victims. A lawyer goes through his paces, often gesturing toward a glowering Mr. Incredible.
Incredible's court losses cost the government millions and opened the floodgates for dozens of similar lawsuits against superheroes the world over.
A series of spinning newspaper headlines describing the succession of lawsuits brought against superheroes. Dyna Guy sued. Super damages. X-ray vision peeping Tom. Irate taxpayers demonstrate, waving placards that read, "No more super bailouts, super expensive," etc. The film footage continues. We now see a congressman addressing his colleagues from the floor of the House of Representatives.
It is time for their secret identities to become their only identities. Either they must join us or go away.
Under tremendous public pressure and the crushing financial burden of an ever-mounting series of lawsuits, the government quietly initiated the Superhero Relocation Program.
Film footage continues. We see superheroes exiting the public stage as they wave goodbye, a la Nixon, duck into cars in a shower of popping flashbulbs, cheered by supporters, jeered by opponents.
The supers would no longer be held accountable for past actions in exchange for a promise to never again resume hero work. Where are they now?
The video continues and we see a throng of people mill about the city streets in diverse anonymity.
They are living among us, living as we do, average citizens, average heroes, quietly and anonymously continuing to make the world a better place.
The music crescendos as cameras lifts up to the horizon and the sun streaming through the clouds. We now see an extreme close-up of an insurance form. A stamp slams down, leaving the word denied in red ink. We are now in an insurance company called Insuracare, Bob's Cubicle. A small, frail woman in her mid-70s named Muriel Hodginson blinks in shock.
Denied? You're denying my claim?
Her claims adjuster, Bob Parr, looks up. He looks familiar. 15 years later. It's none other than Mr. Incredible himself, now balding a bit, 64 pounds heavier, and dressed in a too tight white color shirt. Hodginson sits across from him, bewildered and upset.
I don't understand. I have full coverage.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Hodginson, but our liability is spelled out in paragraph 17.
I can't pay for this.
Excuse me. Claims, Bob Parr.
Meanwhile, we see Helen inside the Parr home, in the kitchen at the same time. Helen Parr chats amiably as she bathes her happy toddler Jack in the sink of their airy ranch-style kitchen. Her hairstyle has changed. Her hips have widened a little, but motherhood has agreed with her, and little else has changed from her Elastigirl days. A stack of empty moving boxes are stacked haphazardly near the door.
I'm calling to celebrate a momentous occasion. We are officially moved in.
Meanwhile, at the insurance company.
That's great, honey. And the last 3 years don't count because...
Because I finally unpacked the last box. So now it's official. Why do we have so much junk?
Listen, honey, I've got a client here.
I'll say no more. Go save the world one policy at a time, honey. I gotta go pick up the kids from school. See you tonight.
Bye, honey. Excuse me. Where were we?
I'm unfit income. If you don't help me, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Bob stares at her, emphasizing with her completely. He stands up and leans out of his cubicle, looks down the hallway in both directions, and makes sure the coast is clear.
All right, listen closely. I'd like to help you, but I can't.
He hands her a pen and a pad of paper. He leans closer, his voice low.
I'd like to tell you to take a copy of your policy to Norma Wilcox on the...
He stops and looks up. She's staring at him blankly, completely puzzled. Bob reaches over and taps her pad. Suddenly, understanding, she begins to scribble.
Norma Wilcox, Wilcox, on the 3rd floor. But I can't. I would advise against asking her for a WS-2475 form, which you should not fill out and file with a man named Oliver Jenkins in our legal department on the 7th floor. I wouldn't expect someone to get back to you quickly to resolve the matter. I'd like to help, but there's nothing I can do.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I know you're upset. Pretend you're upset.
Understanding, she smiles, stands up, and exits, weeping. Bob grins. He's beaten the system. The old lady is gone for a total of 6 seconds when Bob's supervisor, Gilbert Huff, enters. Huff, an anal micromanaging little troll with a loud voice, throws a folder on Bob's desk.
Parr! You authorized payment on the Walker policy?
Someone broke into their house, Mr. Huff. Their policy clearly covers them against...
I don't want to hear about their coverage, Bob. Don't tell me about their coverage. Tell me how you're keeping Insuracare in the black. Tell me, how is that possible with you writing checks to every Harry Hardluck and Sally sob story that gives you a phone call?
Huff leaves in a huff. Bob stands there impotently, then sits, knocking his pencil holder over. Meanwhile, we're at the principal's office. Adams School. Helen enters and sees her son Dash, age 10, blonde hair, sitting hunched in a chair. Before him are 2 men, Dash's teacher, Bernie Kropp, balding, tense, and looking older than his 36 years would have him, and the school's principal.
I appreciate you coming down here so quickly, Mrs. Parr.
Helen enters and takes a seat. Dash stares at the floor.
Well, what's this about? Has Dash done something wrong?
He's a disruptive influence, and he openly mocks me in front of the class.
He says...
I know it's you. He put thumbtacks on my stool.
You saw him do this?
Well, no, no, actually not.
Then how do you know it was him?
I hit a camera. This time I've got him.
Crop slips a disc out of his jacket and into a machine hooked up to the TV monitor. Dash reacts. He didn't expect this. Helen sees this, shoots Dash a sharp look. In the video, we see Crop approaching his stool and sitting. Suddenly, he jumps up in pain. The students laugh. Crop whirls to the adults in the room expectantly.
See? What? You don't see it?
He is met with blank stares. With an exasperated sound, Crop replays the video, pausing it and pointing to a still-seated Dash.
See, he moves right there, right as I'm sitting down. I don't know how he does it.
Crop forwards and rewinds, back and forth. Though Dash's image does pop a bit, he remains clearly in his seat.
But there's no tack on my stool before he moves, and after he moves, there's a tack. Coincidence? I think not.
Helen jerks her head toward Crop, gives the principal a, "You see he's crazy, don't you? Look." And then he turns to Crop.
Bernie.
Don't Bernie me. This little rat is guilty.
You and your son can go, Miss Parr. I'm sorry for the trouble.
Helen gives the principal a thin smile and hustles Dash from the room, leaving Crop apoplectic.
You're letting him go again? He's guilty. You can see it on his smug little face. Guilty, guilty, guilty. No!
Inside Helen's car, as they drive off, Dash stares out the window in angry silence, watching the trees go by. Helen looks at him and softens.
Dash, this is the third time this year you've been sent to the office. You need to find a better outlet, a more constructive outlet.
Maybe I could if you'd let me go out for sports.
Honey, you know why we can't do that.
But I promise I'll slow up. I'll only be the best by a little bit.
Dashiell Robert Parr, you are an incredibly competitive boy and a bit of a show-off. The last thing you need is temptation.
You always say do your best, but you don't really mean it. Why can't I do the best that I can do?
Right now, honey, the world just wants us to fit in. And to fit in, we must be like everyone else.
But Dad always says our powers were nothing to be ashamed of. Our powers made us special.
Everyone's special, Dash.
Which is another way of saying no one is.
Meanwhile, at the Western View Junior High, shy, insecure Violet Parr, age 14, waits nervously behind a hedge near the front entrance. The bell sounds, signaling the end of the school day. Violet turns towards the door as it swings open, and out steps Tony Ridinger, handsome, confident, and crush-worthy. He pauses and is immediately surrounded by friends. As Tony descends the steps with his pals, tossing cool nods at flirty girls, he passes by Violet, who peers at him from over the top of the bushes. He stops, aware of being watched, and looks back. She's not there. Another angle, from the other side of the bush, reveals Violet's clothes hanging in midair with no head. Tony looks directly at the empty space where Violet's head should be, and, seeing nothing, gives up and walks away. Violet's head reappears, blushing. She touches her burning cheeks.
He looked at me.
A car horn honks off screen. Violet hustles across the expansive lawn, through the sea of boys and girls together, to her mother's waiting station wagon. On the Malongo Freeway in the late afternoon, cars stretch off into infinity, idling and immobile. It's the traffic jam from hell, all right. It's right in the middle of it, squeezed into a scruffy car many sizes too small, sits Bob, trying not to be angry. Later, back at the Parr home, a pleasant, unexceptional home in a neighborhood full of pleasant, unexceptional homes, Bob's car pulls into the driveway, the engine sputtering a long time before finally expiring with a tired gasp. Bob steps out and slips on a skateboard left in the driveway. He falls backwards, grabbing the roof of the car to steady himself. He pushes the skateboard away, muttering darkly, and notices that he has inadvertently crumbled the roof of his super grip.
Oh, great.
He decides to let it go, pushes the door closed. It won't go. He tries again, a little harder this time. No go. He slams the door closed, shattering the window. Bob loses it. He seizes the car, lifting it overhead as if readying to fling it over the bar horizon, and stops because there's a 5-year-old kid that's a neighbor kid, and he's on his big wheel tricycle, Rusty McAllister by name, and he's staring in awe and shock. Frozen with the car overhead, Bob stares back, then sets his car down on the driveway and eases into his house as if nothing had happened. In the Parr dining room at night, Helen spoons baby food into the mouth of Jack Jack, with all the facial English known to parents, most of which Jack Jack squeezes back out onto his chin, where it is adeptly caught on Helen's spoon and reintroduced into the baby's mouth.
Mom, you're making weird faces again.
No, I'm not.
You make weird faces, honey.
Do you have to read at the table?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Helen sighs. She turns her attention to Dash, who is wrestling with an uncut slab of steak.
Smaller bites, Dash. Bob, could you help the carnivore cut his meat?
Bob sighs, puts down the paper and grabs a knife and fork, reaches over to Dash's plate and begins to cut his meat.
Dash, you have something you want to tell your father about school?
Well, we dissected a frog.
Dash got sent to the office again.
Good.
No, Bob, that's bad.
What?
Dash got sent to the office again.
What for?
Nothing.
He put a tack on the teacher's chair during class.
Nobody saw me. You could barely see it on the tape.
Put you on tape and you still got away with it? Whoa, you must have been booking. How fast do you think you were?
Bob, we are not encouraging this.
I'm not encouraging. I'm just asking how fast he was.
Honey!
A loud crack is heard. Bob stops cutting, realizing that he's sawed right through the table with his dinner knife.
Oh, great. First the car, and now I gotta pay to fix the table.
The car? What happened to the car?
Bob rises, gives Dash his plate of food, and exits into the kitchen.
I'm getting a new plate.
What about you, Vi? How was school?
Nothing to report.
Well, you've hardly touched your food.
I'm not hungry for meatloaf.
Well, it is leftover night. We have steak, pasta. What are you hungry for?
Tony Ridinger.
Shut up!
Well, you are.
I said shut up, you little insect!
Well, she is.
Do not shout at the table. Honey?
Kids, listen to your mother.
Dash and Violet swap glares. All resume eating, and then...
She'd eat if we were having Tony loaf.
That's it!
Violet lunges across the table, vanishing, save for her clothes. They wrestle. Dash escapes, racing around the table in a blur, slapping at the back of Vi's head before crashing into a force field she throws in his path.
Ow! No force fields!
You started it.
Stop it! Dash! Violet!
Helen's arms stretch across the table as she struggles to keep the kids apart. Jack Jack laughs, loving the chaos. Inside the kitchen, oblivious to all the melee, Bob gets a new plate from the cupboard. Still perusing the newspaper, the headline reads, Palladino missing. With it is a photo of a lean, striking man, early 40s, sporting wraparound sunglasses and a full head of blonde hair.
Simon J. Palladino, long and outspoken advocate of superhero rights, is missing. Gazer beam?
Bob, it's time to engage. Do something.
Bob snaps out of it, turning towards the dining room. Meanwhile, in the dining room, Bob enters, startled to see all the chaos.
Don't just stand there. I need you to intervene.
Okay, I'm intervening. I'm intervening!
Bob hoists the dinner table and everyone with it over his head. Dash and Vi dangle from Helen's tangled arms and continue to scrap. Jack Jack shrieks happily. The doorbell rings. Ding dong. Everyone freezes, then quickly resume their original quiet dining positions. Dash answers the door. It's Lucius Best, aka Frozone. He stands in the doorway, looking sharp in a leather jacket. Like Helen, he too has weathered the post-superhero years well.
Hey, Lucius!
Hey, Speedo. Hey, Helen.
Nice of you to drop by.
Never heard that one before.
Hey, Lucius!
Lucius turns to see Dash spurt a mouthful of water into the air. Best's hand flashes out. The air cracks with a sudden chill and the water freezes solid. Lucius leaps, catches the ice before it hits the ground. Dash sinks back, disappointed.
Aw, I like it when it shatters.
I'll be back later.
Where are you two going?
It's Wednesday.
Bowling night. Oh, say hello to Honey for me, Lucius.
Will do. Good night, Helen. Night, kids.
Bob and Lucius exit, closing the front door behind them. Helen turns to Dash.
Don't think that you've avoided talking about your trip to the principal's office, young man. Your father and I are still going to discuss it.
I'm not the only kid who's been sent to the office, you know.
Other kids don't have superpowers. Now, it's perfectly normal for you
Normal? What do you know about normal? What does anyone in our family know about normal? The only one that's normal is Jack Jack.
Now, wait a minute, young lady.
We act normal. I want to be normal. The only normal one is Jack Jack, and he's not even toilet trained.
Buoyed by hearing his name, Jack Jack gleefully spits a mouthful of baby food onto his bib and cracks up.
Lucky. I mean about being normal.
Inside Lucius's car on the city streets, moments later, Bob and Lucius sit in Lucius's large, comfortable sedan, which is parked in a rundown city neighborhood. A portable police scanner sits on the dashboard, volume low, occasionally interrupting his story.
So now I'm in deep trouble. I mean, one more jolt to this death ray, and I'm an epitaph. Somehow I managed to find cover. And what does Dr. Toxic do?
He starts monologuing.
He starts monologuing. He starts like this prepared speech about how feeble I am compared to him, how inevitable my defeat is, how the world will soon be his, yada, yada, yada.
Yammering.
I mean, the guy has me on a platter, and he won't shut up.
6-1 Sam, 8 Municipalburg. Go ahead. Possible 2356 in progress at 115 Weatherford Way.
Bob turns up the volume, suddenly intense.
2356. What is that? Robbery?
This is just sad.
Yeah, robbery. Want to catch a robber?
Tell the truth, I'd rather go bowling. What if we actually did what our wives think we're doing for a change?
On the outside of Lucius's car, we see a silhouette of a woman watching Bob and Lucius from the driver's seat of a black sports car, discreetly parked in a dark alley. She lowers her binoculars and speaks into a headset.
He's not alone. The fat guy's still with him. They're just talking.
Back to Frozone and Bob.
What are we doing here, Bob?
We're protecting people.
Nobody asked us.
You need an invitation?
I'd like one, yes. You keep sneaking out to do this, and remember Geyserbeam? He had trouble adjusting to civilian life too.
Yeah. There was something about him in the paper. When was the last time you saw him?
I don't see anyone from the old days, Bob. Just you. We're pushing our luck as it is. It was fun the first time, but we keep doing this, and
the scanner
we have
squawks
a report
suddenly.
of a fire at 4th and Elias.
A fire! We're close! Yeah, baby!
Bob pulls a ski mask over his face, shaking his head at his own complicity. Lucius does likewise.
We're gonna get caught.
He starts the car and U-turns towards the fire. On the city streets at night, Bob's enthusiastic shouts echo off the darkened building as the sedan peels off, followed a beat later by the mysterious blonde in the black sports car. Minutes later, at an apartment building, a raging inferno. Bob descends the burning steps, stops in the hallway. Both he and Frozone carry several passed-out apartment dwellers on their shoulders.
Is that everybody?
Yeah, that's everyone.
The building is beginning to collapse. They're trapped with no way out. Frozone tries to ice the burning walls, but his ray is weak and ineffective.
Can't you put this out?
I can't lay down a layer thick enough. It's evaporating too fast.
What's that mean?
It means it's hot and I'm dehydrated. Bob.
You're out of ice? You can't run out of ice. I thought you could use the water in the air.
There is no water in this air. What's your excuse? Run out of muscles?
I can't just go smashing through walls. The building's getting weaker by the second. It'll come down on top of us.
I wanted to go bowling.
A large chunk of ceiling smashes to the floor in a burning heap. Bob looks around nervously, then fixes his gaze towards the door. He shifts his stack of unconscious victims to one shoulder and looks at Lucius.
All right, stay right on my tail. It's gonna get hot.
Bob begins a shout that gets louder as he runs into the burning hallway, Lucius a half step behind him. They are racing through the flames with their unconscious loads. Suddenly, a brick wall appears. Bob picks up speed and lowers his free shoulder into it. The heroes and their rescued smash through the wall just as the building behind them collapses. Bob, Frozone, and the pile of near victims are saved. An alarm sounds. Bob and Frozone realize that they're inside of a jewelry store. A rookie cop spies the masked men and draws his pistol. Frozone spies a water cooler. He grabs a paper cup.
Freeze!
I'm thirsty.
Lucius moves the cup under the tap. The jittery rookie cocks his pistol's hammer.
I said freeze!
I'm just getting a drink.
His eyes fixed on the cop, Lucius slowly brings the cup to his lips and drinks. His face becomes serene.
All right, you had your drink. Now I want you to...
I know.
Lucius drops the cup, raising his hands in front of him.
Freeze.
A frigid blast splits the air. On the streets outside, 2 fire trucks and a police car screech, having arrived in front. Hearing the alarm, 2 veteran cops bust into the scene. Drawing their guns, the cops are stopped by a bewildering sight. A recovering heap of rescued fire victims at the base of an enormous hole in the wall. Standing watch over them is the rookie, stunned and blinking under a layer of ice. In the back alleyway, Bob and Lucius jump into Lucius's car, pulling off their ski masks.
That was way too close. We are not doing that again.
They drive out of frame, revealing a black sports car hidden in another alley behind. At the wheel is a beautiful, mysterious woman with platinum blonde hair. She watches them drive off.
Verify you want to switch targets. Over.
Trust me, this is the one he's been looking for.
In the living room, Bob enters quietly through the kitchen, pausing in the kitchen long enough to nab the remaining hunk of chocolate cake. Humming pleasantly as he chews, he moves into the living room when a voice comes out of the dark.
You said you'd be home by 11.
Bob freezes. A light snaps on. A chair swivels around, and it's Helen, wearing her robe and a peeved expression.
I said I'd be back later.
I assumed you'd be back later. If you came back at all, you'd be back later.
Well, I'm back, okay?
Bob moves to go, but Helen's left arm stretches and stops him, plucking a small dusty fragment of concrete off his coat. She crosses to him, catching up with her hand.
Is this rubble?
It was just a little workout, just to stay loose.
You know how I feel about that, Bob. Darn you! We just got settled. We can't blow cover again.
The building was coming down anyway.
What? You knocked down a building?
It was on fire, structurally unsound. It was coming down anyway.
Oh, tell me it's not the police scanner again.
I performed a public service. You act like that's a bad thing.
It is a bad thing, Bob. Uprooting our family again because you had to relive the glory days is a very bad thing.
Hey, reliving the glory days is better than acting like they didn't happen.
Yes, they happened. But this, our family, is what's happening now, Bob. And you are missing this. I can't believe you don't want to go to your own son's graduation.
It's not a graduation. He's moving from the 4th grade to the 5th grade.
It's a ceremony.
It's psychotic. They keep creating new ways to celebrate mediocrity. But if someone is genuinely exceptional, they shut him down because they don't want everyone else to feel bad.
This is not about you, Bob. This is about Dash.
Want to help Dash? Let him actually compete. Let him go out for sports.
I will not be made the enemy here. You know why we can't do that.
Because he'd be great!
It is not about you.
An abrupt breeze ripples the air, ruffling some loose papers on the coffee table.
All right, Dash. I know you're listening. Come on out.
You too, young lady.
Dash moves out from behind a door, and Violet's head rematerializes from behind the couch, and she stands up, embarrassed. Bob moves next to Helen, becoming parental.
It's okay, kids. We're just having a discussion.
Pretty loud discussion.
But that's okay. What's important is that Mommy and I are always a team, always united against the forces of
Pig-headedness.
I was going to say evil or something.
We're sorry we woke you. Everything's okay. Go back to bed. It's late. In fact, we should all be in bed.
Well, Bob frowns and turns away, following the kids back towards the bedroom. Next day, we're in InsureCare in Bob's cubicle. The following morning, Bob sits at his tiny desk. One look at his bleary face says it all. He hasn't slept all night. His intercom beeps, and Bob glares at it a beat. Then he hits answer.
Mr. Humph wants you in his office.
Now?
Now.
Bob releases the intercom button, and he sighs. Mirage looks around Bob's cramped cubicle, her gaze falling to the open briefcase on Bob's desk. Now we're inside Huff's office. Marginally bigger than Bob's office, with a coveted window to the outside world, painfully clean and joyless. Every pencil sharpened, every paper perfectly stacked and aligned to run parallel to the edge of the desktop.
Sit down, Bob. I'm not happy, Bob. Not happy. Ask me why.
Huff rises from his desk and he crosses to Bob.
Okay. Why?
Why what? Be specific, Bob.
Bob's eyes are drawn to the window. Outside, across the street, a stocky man lingers suspiciously in an alleyway.
Why are you unhappy?
Your customers make me unhappy.
You gotten complaints?
Complaints I can handle. What I can't handle is your customers' inexplicable knowledge of InsureCare's inner workings. They're experts, Bob, exploiting every loophole, dodging every obstacle. They're penetrating the bureaucracy.
Did I do something illegal?
No.
Are you saying we shouldn't help our customers?
The law requires that I say no.
We're supposed to help people.
We're supposed to be helping our people. Who's helping them out, Bob? Starting with our stockholders. Who's helping them?
Huff draws a calming breath, affects a statesmanlike air.
You know, Bob, a company is like
an enormous
an
clock.
enormous clock. Yes, precisely. It only works if all the little cogs mesh together.
Bob's attention returns to the window. The stocky man is accosting a smaller one. Like an attack dog, Bob is suddenly alert, every muscle tensed and ready.
Now, a clock needs to be clean, well lubricated, wound tight. The best clocks have jewel movements, cogs that fit together, cooperate by design. I'm speaking metaphorically, of course, Bob. You know what I mean by cooperative cogs, Bob. Bob?
Huff follows Bob's gaze to the window. On the street, the larger man clubs the smaller man with a mace. He crumples to the sidewalk. Huff jerks Bob's face back towards his.
Look at me when I'm talking to you, Parr.
That man out there, he needs help.
Do not change the subject. We are talking about your attitude.
But he's getting mugged.
Well, let's hope we don't cover him.
I'll be right back.
Stop right now, or you're fired.
Bob hesitates, his hand on the knob of the open door, fighting back the very core of his being. Huff narrows his eyes, speaking softly.
Close the door.
Neck cords straining, Bob slowly shuts the door. He releases the knob, which he's crumpled in rage.
Get over here now.
Bob resumes his position in front of Huff, but his gaze inevitably returns to the scene outside the window. Now we have Bob's point of view. The mugger pockets his plunder and runs off, leaving his victim dazed and helpless on the sidewalk.
Got away.
Good thing, too. You were this close to losing your bond.
Huff squeaks as Bob's enormous right hand flashes out and clamps around his neck. Now we're in the outer hallway. Huff's body bursts through a wall and into another adjacent, tumbling face down onto a copy machine. It begins to spit out multiple copies of his depressed face. Huff has in fact gone through several walls, 4 in total, and 3 adjoining offices before skidding across the floor of the newly visible hallway beyond. The occupants of adjacent offices lean into view, gawking in astonishment through their shattered walls, first at Huff's sprawled form, then one by one back at Bob.
Uh-oh.
Now we're in a hospital hallway, hours later. Through the window in the door, we can glimpse Huff in a full body cast. Bob, seated on a bench outside, looks up as Rick Dickers, a haggard-faced man in a black suit and tie, quietly exits Huff's room. He stops, looks at Bob, then turns away, heading to the elevator. Bob follows after him.
How is he?
He'll live.
I'm fired, aren't I?
You think?
What can I say, Rick?
Nothing you haven't said before.
Someone was in trouble.
Someone's always in trouble.
I had to do something.
Yeah. Every time you say those words, it means a month and a half of trouble for me, Bob. Minimum. It means hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars.
I know.
We gotta pay to keep the company quiet. We gotta pay damages, erase memories, relocate your family. Every time it gets harder. Money, money, money. We can't keep doing this, Bob. We appreciate what you did in the old days, but those days are over. From now on, you're on your own.
The elevator door opens. Dicker steps inside. Bob stares at the floor, beaten. Dicker looks at him with pity. Then,
listen, Bob, maybe I could relocate you for old time's sake.
No. I can't do that to my family again. We just got settled. That'll be all right. I'll make it work. Thanks.
Dicker stares at Bob for a long moment. A bittersweet smile.
Take care of yourself.
And the elevator doors close. Bob stares at them, numb. Now we're in Bob's driveway at dusk. Bob climbs out of his car and is surprised to find someone watching him. The kid on the big wheel, waiting in exactly the same spot as the night before.
What are you waiting for?
I don't know. Something amazing, I guess.
A rueful smile blooms and dies on Bob's face.
Me too, kid. Me too.
Now we're inside the house in Bob's den, a cramped, windowless museum of Mr. Incredible arcana. Walls and shelves cluttered with mementos of his storied past, framed photos, newspaper front pages, magazines, and displayed on the wall under plexiglass, his Mr. Incredible suit. Bob enters and closes the door. He opens his briefcase, pulls out an Insura card employee's manual. Bob growls and rips it in half, tossing it into the trash can. On a roll now, he begins to dump the entire contents of his briefcase into the trash can when, clunk, Bob double takes, startled by the heavy sound, and he peers over the edge of the desk into the trash can, and he sees a large manila envelope. He picks it up and is surprised. It's heavy. He opens it and he pulls out a flat panel about a half-inch thick, and on it is printed, "This end up." Well, he turns the panel as instructed, and in the center is a small circle with writing beneath it. Bob squints, unable to read the tiny letters, and he brings it closer. We're now in Bob's point of view as the letters slowly come into focus.
Hold still.
Suddenly, the panel projects a red grid over Bob's face. We hear a robotic female voice. "Match Mr. Incredible." Bob drops the panel in surprise. It clatters to the desk, still functioning, but a small foot-long rod with a metal ball at the top pops out from the panel. The ball at the tip makes a quick, single revolution, scanning the surrounding room with a vertical beam. "Room is secure. Commence message." The panel flickers. It's a video screen. An image appears. The beautiful platinum blonde woman who visited Bob's office earlier that day.
Hello, Mr. Incredible. My name is Mirage. Yes, we know who you are. Rest assured, your secret is safe with us. Actually, we have something in common. According to the government, neither of us exist. Please pay attention to as this message is classified and will not be repeated.
Bob moves closer, mesmerized.
I represent a top-secret division of the government, designing and testing experimental technology, and we have need of your unique abilities.
Honey?
Bob
Something
startles.
has happened in our remote testing facility. A highly experimental prototype robot has
Dinner's
escaped from
ready.
our control. Although it is contained
Okay,
in an isolated
okay.
area,
Bob grabs a pen and a scrap of paper and starts scribbling furiously, only to find the pen dry. Cursing, he rummages for a working pen, finds one, and begins to take notes.
it threatens to cause incalculable damage to itself and to our facilities, jeopardizing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment and research. Only someone with your unique abilities
someone
can contain
in
the
there?
robot without completely destroying it. Because of its
The
highly
TV!
sensitive nature,
I'm trying to
this
watch!
mission does
Well,
not nor
stop
will it
trying.
ever
It's
exist.
time for dinner.
1 minute!
If you accept, your payment will be equivalent to your current annual salary.
Bob's jaw goes slack. He scribbles, "Big bucks."
Call the number on the screen. Voice matching will be used to ensure security. The supers aren't gone, Mr. Incredible. You're still here. You can still do great things. Or you can listen to police scanners. Your choice. You have 24 hours to respond. Think about it.
Bob finishes scribbling. His mind is reeling. Heroic music begins to stir, and a new light comes to Bob's eyes as they turn to the pictures on the wall of Mr. Incredible's gallant past. The robotic voice relays a last message. "This message will self-destruct." Well, Bob's eyes fall to the panel. Uh-oh. Hallway outside Bob's den. We hear a muffled boom from inside. After a long beat, the ceiling sprinklers come on, followed by the family's shouts from the dining room. The den door opens and Bob emerges in a cloud of smoke, so preoccupied that he's slow to notice the downpour. Inside, later on, Bob and Helen finish drying the inside of the house.
You're one distracted guy.
Huh? Am I? I don't mean to be.
Helen looks at Bob and puts a tender arm around him.
I know you miss being a hero, and your job is frustrating, and I just want you to know how much it means to me that you stay at it anyway.
Honey, about the job.
What?
Something's happened.
What?
The company's sending me to a conference out of town. I'll be gone for a few days.
A conference? Well, they've never sent you to a conference before.
Helen gives Bob a questioning look. Bob tenses. Pause.
This is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see, they're finally recognizing your talents. You're moving up. It's wonderful.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Later, we are in Bob's den. Bob is on the phone, glancing at the Mr. Incredible suit in his display case. After a ring, a female voice answers.
This is Mr. Incredible. I'm in.
And now we are above the clouds, and it's daytime. A sleek-looking manta jet slices the sky. Inside the jet, Bob, clad in his old and now too tight Mr. Incredible suit. Mirage is on board. She debriefs him.
The Omnidroid 9000 is a top-secret prototype battle robot. Its artificial intelligence enables it to solve any problem it's confronted with. And unfortunately...
Let me guess. It got smart enough to wonder why it had to take orders.
We lost control. And now it's loose in the jungle, threatening our facility. We've had to evacuate all personnel from the island for our own safety. They're waiting offshore for the all clear.
How am I going in?
The Omnidroid's defenses have necessitated an airdrop from 5,000 feet. Its cloaking device makes it difficult to track, although we're pretty sure it's on the southern half of the island. One more thing. Obviously, it represents a significant investment.
You want me to shut it down without completely destroying it?
You are Mr. Incredible.
We're now in the drop pod bay of the airplane. After a few unsuccessful tries, Mr. Incredible managed to squeeze his girth into the pod. Mirage enters the pod bay, presses the pod speaker switch.
Remember, it's a learning robot. Every moment you spend fighting it only increases its knowledge of how to beat you.
Shut it down, do it quickly, don't destroy it.
And don't die.
Bob shoots Mirage a wan smile.
Great, thanks.
The pod is blasted from the jet and disappears into the clouds above the island. And now we're in a slow dissolve to No Menacing Jungle, minutes later. Bob groans as he tries to disengage his generous belly from the tiny pod. Finally, with a frustrated yell, he rips the pod in half. Free. He stretches and does a few toe touches and twists to shake out the kinks. He is ready.
Showtime.
He jogs off into the jungle to track the robot. Now there's a series of dissolves as an out-of-shape Bob jogs deeper and deeper into the jungle, growing more winded with each passing mile. His sides ache. He pauses now and then to catch his breath, but he shakes it off and resumes his pursuit. Later, the forest is still now, and Bob's footfalls and heavy breathing are the only sounds we hear. Bob still scans the jungle, but he's tiring, and he pauses to lean against a banyan tree to catch his breath. And he notices large slash marks in the side of the tree. He runs his hand over them. They're fresh. In the dirt near his feet is a giant X-shaped footprint. With a loud crack, the trees behind him split apart, and the Omnidroid is upon him. It slashes at him, and he dodges, but not quickly enough, and the bot's claw catches him on the shoulder, drawing blood. Fire comes into Bob's eyes, and when the bot slashes again, he's ready, leaping over the bot and landing on his feet on the opposite side. The bot is caught by surprise, and in a split second, it takes for the bot to find Bob. Bam! Bob has thrown a mammoth punch that sends him flying into the nearest tree. Bob lets out a happy snarl that says, "You just got schooled by Mr. Incredible, baby." Deep within its metal shell, Servos whine, and the bot rights itself. Its eye lens fixing on Bob.
Uh-oh.
The bot charges. Once again, Bob tries his patented leap. Time slows as we cut inside of the bot's brain. A view screen shows the arc of Bob's leaping being calculated. by the bot. And now, the bot swings, swatting Bob mid-jump. Bob sails into the battery so hard that it splits the trunk. Bob is stunned. The bot has quickly learned and countered. The bot charges again. Now we are with Bob as he runs for his life. The Omnidroid hot on his trail. Bob races through the jungle with surprising speed, but his added weight is slowing him down. He cuts hard to his right and he dives off a cliff. Bob tumbles and slides down the rocky, near vertical face, followed by the relentless machine. It rolls past him and lands in his path. Bob flings boulders at the machine, but the bot is a fast learner, immediately incorporating Bob's moves into its own attack. The Omnidroid leaps high in the air and nearly lands on top of Bob, who leaps clear and tumbles to the cliffs. We are now at lava fields. Bob reels. And before he knows what's happening, the Omnidroid is there, driving him towards the bubbling, hot pools of lava. Bob resists the bot with all of his might, but his feet can't hold the rocky surface. And as he is pushed over closer to the white-hot lava, fear begins to grip his mind. Bob and the Omnidroid grip each other like wildly mismatched wrestlers. With Bob at lava's edge now, losing ground, Bob is straining, desperate. Then something in him snaps, he fills with rage, and with a roar, he jerks to one side and flips the Omnidroid into the lava. The machine hits the lava with a splat and sinks into the hot glow, and it disappears. Bob is wild. He laughs, pointing at the bot's grave with a gesture of defiance, and snap! He throws his back out. Now, suddenly, he can't breathe.
My back.
Now the ground explodes beneath him, splitting the rock. Claws rise from the lava, grip the rock, and the dreaded Omnidroid draws itself out of the lava, dripping magma, its metal body glowing red as if it came from hell itself. Well, Bob looks down, and the ground is splitting into chunks beneath his feet. In pain, barely able to move, Bob makes a desperate leap to a chunk of rock as it breaks free, and he lands pathetically on top. The bot snatches him off and slams him into the ground. Then it lifts Bob up, grabbing his feet with another claw, and begins to pull Bob apart. Bob strains, and then pop! His back realigns. Bob is a new man. With a laugh, he jackknifes. Ripping off one of the Omnidroid's claws, he drops underneath the bot, causing the bot to open a second eye in its underbelly to find him. Bob roars, seizing the second eye, ripping it off the bot's body and flinging it into the lava pool. Before the bot can react, Bob has climbed inside the hole in the belly. The bot now knows that Bob is inside and begins to stab itself wildly to get at him, puncture itself again and again, and tearing itself apart until, sparking and sputtering, it staggers and shuts down. Bob punches a hole in the top, whistling and slapping its side. The bot drunkenly rouses and makes a final grab for Bob deep within its belly and rips out its own metallic guts and keels over, a lifeless scrap pile. Bob hops out, smiling. Mr. Incredible's work is done. And meanwhile, in a nearby tree, an exotic bird, which looks strangely out of place, cocks its head to one side. The camera pushes in to one of its eyes as a metal iris appears. It's a camera lens. And now a shadowed figure stands with Mirage, watching this all on a bank of video screens.
Surprising. We must bring him back. Sound the all clear and invite him to dinner.
Now we are inside a dining hall in the outer corridor. It's early evening. A transpod arrives and Bob steps out dressed in a tux. Now we're on the inside of the dining hall. Bob opens the door and he peeks inside. The hall is massive, with an open terrace that overlooks the tropical forest, and in the center of the room is an enormous dining table, placed parallel to a fall of hot lava. Bob checks his watch, realizes he's early, and a sudden rumble makes him look up. The lava fall parts, revealing a secret passageway, and Mirage emerges. Bob instinctively pulls back, leaving the door open just enough to watch. A silhouetted figure follows after Mirage, gesturing animatedly. They pause at the entrance to the passageway. Their talk is too distant to be heard, but a sound causes Mirage to look in Bob's direction. Now we're inside the dining hall, the outer corridor, just moments later. Mirage, suspicious, pushes open the dining hall doors. Climbing out of the transpod, Bob notices her and he smiles.
Am I overdressed?
Actually, you look rather dashing.
Now we're inside the dining hall, and Bob and Mirage are seated at an enormous table that runs parallel to an equally large lava fall.
I take it our host is...
I'm sorry. He's not able to dine with us tonight. He hopes you'll understand.
Of course. I usually make it a point to know who I'm working for.
He prefers a certain amount of anonymity. Surely you of all people understand that.
I was just wondering. Of all the places to settle down, why live...
With a volcano? He's attracted to power. So am I. It's a weakness we share.
Seems a bit unstable.
I call it misunderstood.
Aren't we all?
Volcanic soil is among the most fertile on Earth. Everything on the table was grown right here. How does it compare?
Everything's delicious.
Bob raises his glass. Mirage smiles and does likewise. Now we are incredible again. His self-esteem back, Bob returns home with renewed vigor. He bonds with his kids, he gets frisky with Helen, and he takes a new pride in his appearance. He buys a new snazzy sports car for himself and a new car for Helen. After he says goodbye to Helen several mornings, clearly pretending to go off to the job he no longer holds at InsureCare, we see how he's actually spending his days, dropping weight and getting into shape. The superheroic workouts do their job. Bob is in the best shape he's been in many years. Now, we are inside Bob's bedroom, and it's morning, several months later. Bob, dressed in a more expensive and tailored version of his InsureCare suit, pauses to examine the torn spot on his Mr. Incredible supersuit.
Hurry, honey, or you'll be late for work.
Bob quickly stuffs his supersuit into his briefcase and he snaps it shut. Now we're on the front doorstep of the Parr house in the morning. Bob pauses at the doorstep and Helen enters and hugs him.
Have a great day, honey. Help customers, climb ladders.
Bring bacon.
All that jazz.
Helen plants a proud kiss on his lips, and Bob exits. Now we are at E's house, and it's during the day. Bob's new car pulls up to an imposing gate, a futuristic web of parallel laser beams. He turns toward a video screen and presses a button underneath it, and the video screen lights up, revealing a burly guard.
Do you have an appointment?
I'm an old friend. I just wanted...
Well, visitors are required to make...
The guard suddenly flinches from something below camera and is shooed off screen by a strident, husky female voice.
Get back, Rolf! Go check the electric fence or something!
A pair of huge glasses fronting the top half of a head rises into the bottom half of the screen, out of focus. This is Edna Mode, known by her friends simply as E.
What is it? What do you want?
Bob removes his sunglasses and grins at the camera.
My God, you've gotten fat. Come in, come in.
The gate opens and Bob drives up the long driveway that winds up the hill to E's tastefully artsy house. Now we're on the interior of E's house. E leads Bob through the tasteful, minimalistic entranceway into her massive living room. E is in her early 60s, half German and half Japanese, and like both of those small countries, is not to be underestimated.
Yes, things are going very well. My God, no complaints, but you know, it is not the same at all.
Weren't you just in the news? Some show in Prague?
Milan, darling, Milan. Ugh, supermodels, ha! Nothing super about them. Spoiled, stupid little stick figures with poofy lips who only think about themselves. Ha! I used to design for gods. But perhaps you come with a challenge, eh? I was surprised by your call.
E, I just need a patch job.
Bob hands E his damaged suit, and she examines it, frowning.
This is Mega Mesh. Outmoded but very sturdy. You've torn right through it. What have you been doing, Robert? Moonlighting hero work?
Must have happened a long time ago.
I see. This is a hobo suit. You can't be seen in this. I won't allow it. 15 years ago, maybe, but now.
E drops the suit into the trash can, and Bob retrieves it.
What do you mean? You designed it.
I never look back, darling. It distracts from the now. You need a new suit, that much is certain.
A new suit? Where the hell would I get...
You can't! It's impossible. I'm far too busy, so ask me now before I again become sane.
You want to make me a suit?
You push too hard, darling, but I accept. It will be bold, dramatic, heroic.
Yeah, something classic like Dynaguy. He had a great look. The cape, the boots.
No capes!
Isn't that my decision?
Unaccustomed to being questioned, E visibly stiffens.
Do you remember, Thunderhead?
We're in a flashback. Maelstrom in his prime. Beefy and B-movie handsome, decked out in a splendid outfit with elegant floor-length cape.
Tall, storm powers. Nice man, good with kids.
We're resuming the scene. Bob knows where this is headed, and he moves to speak, but is instantly cut off by E.
September 15th of 58.
Resume the flashback. A madman aims a missile launcher at a city across a bay. Maelstrom leaps into frame, dispatches him with a single punch, and turns the missile towards the open sea. His duty done, he turns and smiles at a young lady standing nearby, failing to notice that his cape has caught on the missile.
All was well, another day saved when...
The rocket blasts into the distance, taking Maelstrom with it.
His cape snagged on the missile fin. His scorched remains were found several hundred miles away.
Intercut. Comically brief flashbacks, as E describes them, of each super being doomed by his or her cape.
Maelstrom wasn't the brightest bulb in the...
Slipstream, April 1957, cape caught in a jet turbine.
E, you can't generalize about the...
Multi-man, express elevator, Dynaguy, snag on takeoff, splashdown, sucked into a vortex.
The flashbacks end and E glares at Bob, declaring with unassailable finality,
No capes! Well, go on. Your new suit will be finished before your next assignment.
You know I'm retired from hero work.
As am I, Robert. Yet here we are.
I only need a patch job, E, for sentimental reasons.
Fine. I will also fix the hobo suit.
E, you're the best of the best.
Yes, I know, darling, I know.
Now it is evening, and we are in the master bedroom of the Parr home. Helen plucks one of Bob's enormous shirts from a stack when something catches her eye. A long platinum blonde hair mirages on Bob's suit jacket. Well, Helen plucks it off, examining it. The phone rings. She goes to answer it, hesitating when she hears...
I got it! Don't answer it, honey! I got it!
Helen frowns. There is something suspicious about Bob's eagerness. Now we are in Bob's den. Bob picks up the phone.
Hello?
We have a new assignment for you.
We're in the master bedroom with Helen. She carefully picks up the phone, places one hand over the mouthpiece, and she listens in.
How soon can you get here?
I'll leave tomorrow morning.
Helen reacts. Now we're in Bob's den.
I understand. Goodbye.
Bob hangs up the phone and moves to the door, opening it. Helen is there, blocking the doorway. She forces a smile.
Who is that, honey? The office?
Another conference. Short notice, but duty calls.
Bob squeezes past her and exits. Helen stares into his den, feeling suspicious and impotent. Now we are in the par garage, and it is morning. Bob is seated in his new sports car, its engines purring. He belts himself in. Helen enters, still in her robe.
Bob?
Huh? What is it, honey?
A storm of conflicting emotions play across Helen's face, but she puts on a happy face and leans down through his open window.
Have a nice trip.
Thanks, honey. I'll call you when I land.
I love you so much.
Something in her voice makes Bob hesitate. He looks back at her, curious.
I love you too.
Then he gives her a kiss, and then he backs out of the driveway and, with a wave, he drives off. The next day, we are above the clouds. The sleek-looking Manta Jet slices the sky. Now we're on the inside of the Manta Jet. Bob, leaner and meaner in his new supersuit, dips a fresh prawn into some cocktail sauce and gazes about the luxurious cabin. He is happy as a clam.
This is your automated captain speaking. Would you care for more mimosa?
Bob says, "Don't mind if I do. Thanks."
Mind if I do.
And his glass disappears into his armrest, instantly replaced by a full glass of mimosa.
You're welcome. Currently 78 degrees in Nomanasan. Please fasten your seatbelts. We're beginning our descent.
We are now over the island. As the jet begins its descent towards the island, we begin to see its spectacular aspects. Active volcano, towering snow-capped peak, tumbling waterfalls, futuristic monorail, etc. It is a paradise on Earth. Suddenly, the engines cut off and the jet plunges, nose down, into the sea, converting into a submersible. We are now beneath the water's surface. The jet sub cruises through a fantastic seascape of exotic, otherworldly rock formations towards the base of an island through vast curtains of bubbles created from a field of cooling lava. A massive door opens, revealing a huge underwater docking bay. The ship enters, the entrance closing behind them. We're now inside the docking bay. The water drains. The jet sub settles into a landing, and a giant docking tube extends from a sidewall and connects to the side of the jet sub. Now we are in the jet sub. Bob turns as a door opens, revealing a small side chamber and a pair of shapely legs. Mirage leans into view.
Welcome back, Mr. Incredible. Nice suit. You lost weight.
But not my appetite. It's good to be back, Mirage.
Bob enters the monopod. The door is shut and it takes off. We are now in the Nomansian jungle, traveling with the pod. The monopod zooms along a track which raises from a tunnel beneath the lagoon and sweeps through the jungle. Although this is his second time here, Bob is seeing the island with new eyes. It is a wonder. The monopod track disappears straight into a rushing waterfall, and suddenly the waterfall parts. The water separating like an enormously long chiffon curtain, revealing an intricately designed architecture hidden underneath. Now we are with the pod as it enters a vertical tube and zooms upward into the dark. And now moments later, we are in the guest quarters. Elevator doors slide open crisply. Bob enters and takes in the room. It is small, open, and tasteful, with a balcony overlooking a breathtaking view of the jungle and the ocean beyond.
You'll be briefed about your next assignment in the conference room at 2, room A113.
2 o'clock. Thanks.
See you there.
Mirage leaves. Bob enters, throwing his case on the bed. He grabs a pear from a bowl of fresh fruit and he takes a bite. He steps out onto his balcony and leans against the railing. He could get used to paradise. Meanwhile, we are inside the Parr home. It's daytime, and we're in the basement hallway. Helen vacuums. She notices some debris outside Bob's den, so she vacuums it. The vacuum bumps the door, and it swings open. Helen stares at the floor. She pushes the vacuum forward in a probe of Bob's den carpet. The sound of filthy debris rattles up the vacuum tube. Helen sighs. She's got to vacuum the entire room. Now we are in Bob's den. As she begins vacuuming the den floor, Helen notices that the door of his Mr. Incredible suit display case is ajar. She pushes it closed, but suddenly stops, looking closer at Bob's old supersuit, and sees a new rip, expertly and recognizably mended.
Edna.
Now we're inside the Parr house in the kitchen during the daytime.
Hello, I'd like to speak to Edna.
This is Edna.
This is
Helen.
Helen.
Who?
Helen Parr. Elastigirl.
Darling, how are you? So divine to hear from you.
Yes, it has been a while. Listen, there's only one person Bob would trust to patch his super suit, and that's you, E.
Yes. Marvelous, isn't it? Much better than those horrible pajamas he used to wear. They are all finished. When are you coming to see? Don't make me beg, darling. I won't do it, you know.
Beg? No, I'm calling to beg about the suit. About suit. Bob's suit. I'm calling about Bob's suit.
You come in 1 hour, darling. I insist. Okay? Okay, bye.
Now we're back at the Nomancian base in conference room number A113. Bob opens the door, but no one is there. He checks the wall clock. 2 o'clock. He decides to enter and takes a seat at the meeting table. There are some strange, low sounds. Then the far wall slides open, revealing the outdoors and a bigger, badder Omnidroid. Bob turns to run, but the Omnidroid is fast. It grabs him and flings him into the outside air. Bob sails to the edge of the jungle, landing with a thud. But before he can react, the robot has him again and slams him into the ground. A voice comes over a loudspeaker.
It's bigger. It's better.
The robot seizes Bob in one giant claw, turning 2 others into whirling blades. They close in on Bob's neck. When a young, chunky, wild-haired man in a bright supersuit descends from the sky on jet boots, landing on top of the enormous robot.
It's too much for Mr. Incredible. Oh, it's finally ready.
The wild-haired man pokes a few buttons on one of his wristbands, and the robot's blades stop, and the bot stands down.
I went through quite a few supers to get it worthy to fight you, but man, it wasn't good enough. After you trashed the last one, I had to make some major modifications. Sure, it was difficult, but you are worth it after all. I'm your biggest fan.
Oh, a dark realization falls over Bob's face.
Buddy?
Oh, my name is not Buddy.
He presses a button on one of the thick platform bands around his wrists, and the Omnidroid flings Bob again.
And it's not Incrediboy either. That ship has sailed. All I wanted was to help you. I only wanted to help. And what did you say to me?
Flashback. Mr. Incredible and Buddy, 15 years earlier. A shot from our prologue, softened by memory. A young Mr. Incredible turns away from Buddy/Incrediboy.
Go home, buddy. I work alone.
Flashback to Buddy in his bedroom. Still in his Incrediboy costume, but without the mask. Buddy glowers up at his bedroom wall, a shrine to Mr. Incredible. He tears the poster off the wall.
It tore me apart. But you taught me an important lesson. You can't count on anyone.
Now we're back in the present day with Bob and Buddy.
Especially your heroes.
I was wrong to treat you that way. I'm sorry.
You see, now you respect me because I'm a threat. That's the way it works. Turns out there are a lot of people, whole countries, who want respect, and they will pay through the nose to get it. I didn't think I got so rich. I invented weapons. Now I have a weapon that only I can defeat, and when I unleash it, I'll get...
Bob suddenly flings the log at Buddy. He ducks it and presses a button on one of his wristbands. A beam erupts from his index finger and hits Bob in the chest, freezing him mid-action. Buddy chuckles with admiration.
You sly dog, you got me monologuing.
Buddy jerks his beam arm to his right, effortlessly hurling Bob into a tree with tremendous force.
Cool. Cool, right? 0 point energy. I mean, I saved the best inventions for myself.
Buddy immediately catches Bob in the on the ombre again, freezing him in space.
Look at that. Am I good enough now? Who's super now? I'm Syndrome. You're never gonna stand up.
Syndrome realizes he's lost Bob inadvertently, flinging him into the trees.
Brilliant.
Now we're at the jungle cliffs. Bob's body arcs over the treetops, dropping into a deep river and flows into a waterfall. He pulls himself onto a rock. Syndrome becomes visible over the distant trees, and he spies Bob and he rockets towards him. Bob takes a running leap off the rock, over the falls, and disappears into the mist below. We are now underwater at the base of the falls. Bob hits the water in an explosion of bubbles. At the top of the falls, Syndrome lands on a rock, pulls a tiny electronic device from his wristband. He hits the primer. The device begins to beep.
Try one of these on for size, big boy.
He drops the device over the falls. Now we are underwater at the base of the falls. Bob's eyes widen when he sees the device entering the water. He turns and swims as fast as he can for the nearest protection, a hole in the rocks. The device explodes! Now we are in an underwater tunnel. It blows Bob through the hole so fast that he is blown into the inside of a cave. Bob coughs up some water, tries to catch his breath, and he looks up to see a skeletal face. He jumps back in surprise. It is the remains of a man. His only clothes, the ragged remnants of shoulder pads, boots, and an odd-looking helmet. Bob crawls over to rub some dirt from the emblem over the eyes. The emblem reads, GB. The skeleton is still standing up, and Bob is compelled to follow its gaze to the adjacent cave wall. There, presumably in his dying moments, Gazerbeam had burned a word into the rock. Kronos.
Kronos.
Just then, Bob hears a sound near a blowhole of the cave. A tiny, flying probe rises from the holes. A scanner detects a body in the cave, and the probe flies towards it. It pauses in front of the skeleton, scans it, and then retreats, exiting. Bob slowly rises from behind the skeletal remains, and he watches it go. Now, we're at the top of the falls in the jungle. Syndrome's probe emerges from the mist of the falls and returns to Syndrome. It beeps as it docks with his wristband.
Life readings negative. Mr. Incredible terminated.
Syndrome bows his head in respect to his former idol. Inside E's house the next day, E leads Helen downstairs toward her hidden lab.
This project has completely confiscated my life, darling, consumed me as only hero work can. My best work, I must admit, simple, elegant, yet bold. You will die. I did Robert's suit, and it turned out so beautiful, I just had to continue.
It's great to see you, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, words are useless. Gobble, gobble, gobble. There's too much of it, darling. Too much. This is why I show you my work. This is why you are here.
She turns to the wall and rapidly executes an elaborate series of security measures, punches a 15-digit code with her left hand while pressing her right hand against a panel. It flashes and she exposes her eye to a retinal scan, which causes a microphone to extend from the wall to her lips.
Edna mode.
In a flash, a ceiling panel opens and out pops an enormous gun which trains its sights on Helen. E sees this, turns back to the microphone, adding hastily,
and guessed.
The gun retreats into the ceiling. The wall in front of them opens dramatically, revealing E's testing lab, a large, ultra-sophisticated work area dedicated to the design, fabrication, and testing of superhero suits. E crosses to a large raised platform mounted to a track running parallel to a glassed-in chamber and sits in one of the two chairs facing it. Between the chairs is a small table with a fresh pot of coffee and assorted cookies. E motions Helen to join her.
Come sit, cream and sugar.
Helen shakes her head, feeling a little bewildered, and sits as E pours and hands her a cup of coffee.
I started with the baby.
Started?
Shh, darling, shh.
Inside the chamber, a panel opens. A small, featureless baby mannequin in a tiny red suit, sporting the same eye insignia as Bob's, mounted to a post, emerges, tracking slowly from one end of the chamber to the other.
I cut it a little roomy for free movement. The fabric is comfortable for sensitive skin.
The inside of the chamber erupts in flames. Helen jumps back as E continues talking.
And can also withstand a temperature to over 1,000 degrees.
The flames are suddenly replaced by a barrage of machine gun fire as the suit is blasted by hundreds of bullets.
Completely bulletproof.
The gunfire stops.
And machine washable, darling. That's a new feature.
What in heaven's name do you think the baby will be doing?
Well, I'm sure I don't know, darling. Luck favors the prepared. I didn't know the baby's powers, so I covered the basics.
Jack doesn't have any powers.
No? Well, he'll look fabulous anyway.
As the baby suit X's one end, the panel reopens on the other side. Another mannequin, Dash's side, swings into the smoky chamber, its arms and legs slowly churning in the running motion, which gradually accelerates into a blur.
Your boy's suit I designed to withstand enormous friction without heating up or wearing out. A usual feature.
The Dash suit departs into the wall as a new suit enters.
Your daughter's suit was tricky, but I finally created a sturdy material that will disappear completely as she does.
Helen's suit moves into view. Robot arms enter from above and below, clamp to the sleeves of arms and pants, and begin to pull them wide apart in various contortions.
Your suit can stretch as far as you can without injuring yourself and still retain its shape.
Two small bombs appear on either side of the suit and explode, bending the...
Virtually indestructible, yet breathes like Egyptian cotton. And as an extra feature, each suit contains a homing device, giving you the precise global location of the wearer at the touch of a button.
The chamber goes dark. The lights return to their less dramatic setting. E swivels to face Helen, a cocky smile playing at the corners of her mouth.
Well, darling, what do you think?
What do I think? Bob is retired. I'm retired. Our family is underground. You helped my husband resume secret hero work behind my back?
I assumed you knew, darling. Why would he keep secrets from you?
He wouldn't. He doesn't.
There is a heavy pause. E considers her.
Men at Robert's age are often unstable, prone to weakness.
What are you saying?
Do you know where he is?
Of course.
Do you know where he is?
At the sea cliffs of Nomanazan at dusk, Bob is hiding in brush at the top of a cliff. Along the waterline far below, a monopod streaks toward him along a track which curves along the coastline. Bob crouches and dives. We fall with him, whistling through the air until we hit a palm tree. The palm tree bends slowly, Bob's drop, before he expertly releases it and drops into another palm directly below it. Bob leaps onto the roof of the pod, quickly dispatching the guards inside, tossing them into the ocean. Bob seats himself at the controls as the pod races towards Syndrome's base and a security checkpoint. At the checkpoint, 2 guards look up as they hear the monopod approach. A sparking wheel carriage arrives at the gate, its cabs completely torn off and missing. Suddenly alert, the guards cock their guns and aim into the dark. We hear a distant grunt, and a moment later the cab falls from the sky, crashing on top of the guards. Bob runs through the wrecked gate toward the base. At the base, Bob pulls up behind some trees. There are several guards, 2 at the vehicle entrance, another at the balcony above. Bob thinks a bit, looks down, and finds a coconut. With expert precision, he throws it at the balcony guard, beating him. He falls off the balcony and hits the ground. The other guards rush to help him, leaving their posts. Bob runs up to the vehicle entrance. It's locked tight. Bob sees shadows of guards approaching. He's out in the open and about to be caught when the ambulance suddenly, that door suddenly sweeps up and open, taking Bob with it. An ambulance moves out of the open bay, and as the door moves closed behind it, we see Bob drop into the garage. At an elevator, Bob emerges in the dining hall and stares at the lava fall. He knows there's a secret passage behind it. He picks up a large stone sculpture, readies to run into the lava. 1, 2, 3. Bob is startled by a flash of light behind the fall. The passage is opening. He loses his balance, struggling to set the massive sculpture back into place before Mirage enters. Bob rushes into the closing passage, jumps clear just as passage closes. A series of parallel floor lights click on. Bob follows to an elaborate chair in the center of the dark, lit from above. Bob sits down in the chair. A giant curved screen lights up in front of him with a blinking cursor in its center. Bob types in Kronos. The computer sign refreshes. Bob is in. We go back to E's lab. Helen is on the phone. E is listening intently in the background.
Hello, this is Helen Parr. Bob Parr is my husband. I was just wondering if you could give me the number of the hotel he's staying at. The number I have is no good.
Mr. Parr no longer works at InsureCare.
What do you mean? He's on a business trip, a company retreat.
My records say he was terminated almost 2 months ago.
Helen hangs up in a daze.
So, you don't know where he is?
Helen shakes her head. E holds up the homing device.
Would you like to find out?
Back to Bob. Bob enters the computer record of the development of the Omnidroid. It squares off superheroes on one half of the screen with progressively more advanced versions of the Omnidroid. A terminated band blots out the loser of each encounter. Bob's eyes fill with horror. Syndrome has been using superheroes to beta test his Omnidroid killing machines, starting with the weaker superheroes and working his way up as the robots become more deadly. Face after face of deceased superheroes flash by. Gazerbeam, Gamma Jack, Everseer. Bob turns away, staggered. He types in the name Elastigirl under whereabouts. The computer answers unknown. Bob heaves a sigh of relief. In E's lab at the same time, Helen reluctantly takes the homing locator from E and stares at it, not sure she wants to know what it may tell her. Back in Syndrome's master computer room with Bob, he is now looking at Syndrome's master plan, which seems to indicate unleashing the Omnidroid on a major city. A countdown has already started. It's happening within 24 hours. Bob rises from the console and starts for the exit. Back in E's lab at the same time, Helen presses the locator button on the homing tracker. On the view screen, the locator isolates a remote island. Back in Bob, with Bob as the dot over the eye on his chest logo lights up, beeping. Bob looks down in surprise. An alarm sounds as the room is awash in bright light. Unwittingly, Helen has exposed him. Bob races for the exit, but is hit by sticky balls of goo fired from guns lining the walls, which inflate, quickly making it impossible to run. Bob falls to the floor, swallowed up by the expanding goo. The expanding goo balls fill up his vision, but not before Bob makes out the recognizable figure approaching him. Mirage. In E's kitchen several minutes later, coffee has been made and partially consumed. The morning paper, still rolled, rests on the table. Helen, eyes reddened from crying, blows her nose in a wadded length of toilet paper handed her to a mildly disgusted E.
I'm such an idiot. I let this happen, you know, the new sports car, the getting in shape, the blonde hair, the lies.
Yes, he attempts to relive the past.
And now I'm losing him. What'll I do? What'll I do?
What are you talking about?
E suddenly leaps onto the table. She whacks Helen with the rolled up newspaper.
You are Elastigirl! My God, pull yourself together! What will you do? Is this a question? You will show him you remember that he is Mr. Incredible, and you will remind him who you are. Well, you know where he is. Go, confront the problem, fight, win! And call me when you get back, darling. I enjoy our visits.
Later, inside the hallway, inside the poorhouse, readying to leave, Helen talks to Violet as they walk toward Helen's bedroom.
Now, there's lots of leftovers you can reheat, Vi. Make sure Dash does his homework, and both of you get to bed on time. I should be back tonight late. You can be in charge that long, can't you?
Yeah, but why am I in charge again?
Nothing. Just a little trouble with Daddy.
You mean Dad's in trouble or Dad is the trouble?
Helen pauses outside her bedroom door.
I mean, either he's in trouble or he's going to be.
Inside the master bedroom, Aunt enters, looks at her open travel bag, then the suits E made. She sighs, decides to pack her super suit, then sees Dash staring at the matching bright red outfits.
Hey, what's that? Where'd you get that, Mom?
Mom stretches to slam the door closed, immediately dashes outside the sliding window looking in.
Oh, you made cool outfits? Hey, are those outfits for us? We all get cool outfits?
Mom stretches to pull the blinds, briefly taking her hand off the doorknob. Dash zooms back through the door, nabs his outfit and is gone. Helen calls after him.
Wait! Dash! Dash, you come back here this moment!
The phone rings. Helen, expecting it, quickly picks it up.
Hey, Snug. Thanks for getting back. Listen, I know this is short notice, but...
Violet has entered. She stares at the suits on the bed.
What are these?
Dash zips back in, fully dressed in his suit.
Look! I'm the Dash. The Dash likes.
Helen tries to zip up her bag and return Violet's suit to the closet. Violet is back, though, and sees this.
Just a moment. Take that off before somebody sees you.
But you're packing one just like it. Are you hiding?
Honey, I'm on the phone.
Oh,
Dash whisks the suit from Helen, offers it to Violet.
This is yours! It's
on?
Helen pushes both children out into the hall and slams her door. Violet looks at the suit, then at Dash.
What makes you think it's special?
I don't know. Why'd Mom try to hide it?
Dash runs off. Violet looks at the suit, wondering. Making her hand invisible, she touches the suit. It vanishes. She draws back, taking her finger off the suit. It reappears. Violet stares at the suit with wide eyes. Whoa! Inside the master bedroom.
Snug, I'm calling in a solid you owe me.
In Snug's office at the airport, cluttered and comfortable, a blown-in-the-bottle museum of flying arcana, Snug Porter, lean, leatherly, and laugh-lined, twirls a pencil as he makes the call.
About time. What's it been? 15 years? I was starting to get comfortable. What do you need?
A jet. What can you get that's fast?
Snug turns to his office window, which looks out into the tarmac, and lifts a few Venetian blinds, revealing an amazingly sleek and powerful-looking jet.
Now let me think.
The next day, above the clouds, the jet soars above the golden late-afternoon sky. Inside the jet's cockpit, Helen pilots the jet as she speaks into her headset.
Island approach, India Golf 9er, checking in. VFR on top, over.
No response. Helen checks the instruments, confirms her course. She tries again.
Islands Tower, this is India Golf 9er, requesting vectors. Vectors to the initial, over. Huh.
An old sensation begins to creep into Helen's thoughts. Danger. She grabs her duffel bag and zips it open, exposing the supersuit E made for her. She stares at it.
Easy, Helen. You're overreacting. Everything's fine. They're just all getting coffee at the same time.
Helen mulls the explanation and decides it's ridiculous. She flips a switch, putting the jet on autopilot, grabs her suit, and goes into the lavatory. Nomanazan, jail cell at the same time. Bob awakens and finds himself bound by huge metal restraints, facing a nasty-looking device that looks something like an electrified bed of nails. Syndrome approaches Bob.
You, sir, truly are Mr. Incredible. You know, I was right to idolize you. I always knew you were tough, but tricking the probe by hiding under the body, under the bones of another super? Oh, man, I am still geeking out about that. Then you had to go and ruin it. Just ruin the ride. I mean, Mr. Incredible calling for help? Help, help me. Lame. All right, who did you contact?
Bob stares at Syndrome.
Contact? What are you talking about?
Syndrome nods at a flunky who presses a button. The torture device jumps to life, emitting sparks as Bob winces in pain.
I'm referring to last night at 23:07 hours while you were snooping around. You said the homing signal.
I didn't know about the homing device.
Syndrome zaps Bob again, his spasms grimacing.
And now a government plane is requesting permission to land here. Who did you contact?
Didn't send for a plane.
Play the transmission.
Island approach, India Golf 9er,
checking in. VFR on top, over.
Bob's head snaps to attention. Syndrome sees it.
Helen?
So you do know these people. Well, then I'll send them a little greeting.
With flourish and a malicious grin, Syndrome presses the red launch button on a control console. In a main cabin, Helen emerges from the lavatory dressed in her supersuit. She throws her duffel bag roughly at a passenger seat.
Ow! Ow!
Violet?
It's not my fault. Dash ran away, and I knew I would get blamed for it, and...
Dash pops up from behind the seats at the back of the cabin, immediately engaging at the top of his lungs.
That's not true! You said something's up with Mom, and you have to find out what.
Behind breaking your mom! It's not my fault!
Wait a minute! You left Jack alone?
Yes, Mom, I'm completely stupid. Of course, we gotta set her. Do you think I'm totally irresponsible? Thanks a lot.
Well, who did you get?
In the Parr home, sporting a ponytail, baggy baseball shirt, and a mouthful of orthodontia, Kari McKeon, 13, stands in the middle of the Parr living room, chatting into the phone as Jack plays happily in the background.
You don't have to worry about a single thing, Mrs. Parr. I've got this babysitting thing wired. I've taken courses and learned CPR, and I've got excellent marks and certificates I can produce on demand.
Back to Helen on the jet.
Kari.
I also brought Mozart to play while he's asleep because leading experts say Mozart makes babies smarter.
Kari.
And the beauty part is the babies don't even have to listen because they're asleep. I wish my parents played Mozart when I slept because half the time I don't even know what the heck anybody's talking about.
Kari, I really don't feel comfortable with this. I will pay you for your trouble, but I'd really rather call a service.
Oh, that's not really necessary. No need, Mrs. Parr. I can handle anything this baby dishes out. Can't I, little googly boobly boy?
Kari, I appreciate your qualifications and your enthusiasm, but
A warning signal sounds from the cockpit. Helen turns, recognizing it instantly. In the cockpit, Helen enters. Through the windshield, a rocket's flare is suddenly visible above the clouds. Helen's eyes widen. A fastened seatbelt sign above Dash and Vi lights up. They exchange glances, reach for their seatbelts. The jet suddenly dives, throwing them into the ceiling.
friendlies at 20 miles south-southwest of your position. Angels 10. Track east. Disengage. Over. Disengage!
Roaring through the clouds as the jet banks suddenly, barely avoiding a missile that smokes past its metallic bezier. Resume Syndrome's base in the prison cell at the same time.
India Golf 9er transmits in the blind guard.
No!
In the jet, through the windshield, we see the clouds suddenly part, revealing the ocean looming towards us like an endless brick wall. Helen plants her feet and yanks back on the controls. Above the water's surface, the jet's belly spanks the crest of the waves as it struggles to pull out of its dive. In the cockpit, the jet is buffeted by the peaks of the floating waves, its engine screaming as it finally descends. The jet goes vertical, throwing the kids backwards down the aisle. Helen stabilizes the jet, then double-takes as the missiles reappear on her screen. She whirls to Violet.
Vi, I need you to throw a force field around the plane. I can't hear you, Violet. I think you're on mute.
But you said never to do that!
I know what I said. Now listen to what I'm saying now.
I've never done one that big before.
In the prison cell.
It's not like I've been practicing.
Violet, do it now.
No! Call off the missiles! I'll do anything!
Too late. 15 years too late.
In the jet, Violet frets, not sure where to start. She uncertainly starts to form a force field, but it's small and weak. Helen whirls towards the cockpit. The jet's radar display shows the missiles converging. The missiles close in on the jet. Helen shouts into her headset, eyes widening in horror as the missiles close in on the jet's belly, and Helen throws off her headset, leaps out of her seat, and stretches, enveloping her kids in an instant before the jet explodes, becoming a roiling fireball as the missile cuts it in half. Back in the prison cell, Bob reacts in horror as the radar indicates a hit, and the jet explodes, falling through the sky. An orange-red ball emerges from the blast and slowly unfurls. It's Helen, who's out cold, and the kids, who are wide awake and screaming as they freefall toward the ocean. Helen comes through to keep the children plummeting to their death. She stretches her arms, pulling the kids in as she forms into a parachute to arrest their descent.
Brace yourselves!
In the ocean, they splash down. The kids break the water's surface in shock, sputtering and splashing.
Mom, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, Mom?
I will tell you what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna panic, and we're not going to go. Look out!
Helen shoves the kids clear, diving. Underwater, as a chunk of the fuselage hits with a thunderous splash, Helen watches it quickly disappear into the depths. In Bob's cell,
We have a confirmed hit. Target destroyed.
Yeah, you'll get over it. I seem to recall you work alone.
with sudden rage, Bob bursts free of his legs cuffs, driving his legs forward with tremendous force and lunges for Syndrome. Mirage sees him and shoves Syndrome clear, gets snagged in Bob's arm. Bob yanks back his grade, his arm pulled in opposite directions. Mirage now caught in the middle.
Release me! Now!
Or what?
I'll crush her.
No!
Sounds a little dark for you, Go ahead.
It'll be easy. Like breaking a toothpick.
Show me.
A contest of wills as the two stare each other down. But Bob doesn't have it in him. He lets her go. Mirage drops to the floor. Syndrome looks at Bob and sneers.
I knew you couldn't do it. Even when you have nothing to lose, you're weak. I've outgrown you.
Syndrome exits, followed by the technician, and finally, Mirage. The room is empty and silent, save for the soft sound of the suspension arcs holding Bob. Softly, Mr. Incredible begins to weep. Back in the ocean, Dash and Violet tread water, anxiously looking at Mom.
Oh my God. We're dead! We're dead! We survived!
It blew up!
Stop it!
Ellen splashes water in their face, startling them silent.
We are not going to die. Now both of you will get a grip, or so help me, I'll ground you for a month. Understand?
The kids nod. Helen looks up at the missile trails.
Those were short-range missiles, land-based. So that way is our best bet.
You want to go toward the people that tried to kill us?
If it means land, yes.
You expect us to swim there?
I expect you to trust me.
As we move in an aerial shot over the ocean, a boat gains into the frame, skimming over the water at great speed. Violet appears to be the only passenger. As we get closer, we see that the boat is actually Helen, who has contorted herself into a reasonable facsimile of an inflatable raft, and Dash facing backwards, his legs pounding the water furiously, is the outboard motor. Violet sits impassively, her long hair streaming in the wind, and tries to find something interesting to look at. The Incrediboat speeds away from us, heading toward the missile trail's origins and the horizon, and the Nomadazan beach early evening. It is just after sunset when Helen, Dash, and Violet stagger onto the beach, hungry and exhausted. Helen collapses into an ungainly, slightly stretched out heap, spent, her body slowly reverting into its usual shape. She looks at Dash with a tired smile.
What a trooper. I'm so proud of you.
Panting, Dash smiles and gives her a weak wave.
Thanks, Mom.
A little later inside a cave, Helen and the kids huddle around a fire, silent and somber. Helen finally breaks the silence.
I think your father is in trouble.
If you haven't noticed, Mom, we're not doing too hot either.
I'm going to look for him. That means you're in charge until I get back, Violet.
What?
You heard her.
Helen reaches into the battered duffel and removes 3 masks. She puts one on, hands the other 2 to her kids.
Put these on. Your identity is your most valuable possession. Protect it. If anything goes wrong, use your powers.
Maybe, but you said we should never...
I know what I said.
Helen regrets her outburst at once. She takes a deep breath, composes herself, looks at her kids.
Remember those bad guys on those shows you used to watch on Saturday morning? Well, these guys are not like those guys. They won't exercise restraint because you're children. They will kill you if they get the chance. Do not give them that chance. Vi, I'm counting on you.
Mom,
I'm counting on you. Be strong. Dash, if anything goes wrong, I want you to run as fast as you can.
As fast as I can?
As fast as you can. Stay hidden. Keep each other safe. I'll be back by morning.
Helen gives them a long hug, then turns to exit the cave. Violet, looking tortured, runs after her, stops at the entrance. Tears well up in Violet's eyes.
Mom, what happened on the plane when you asked me to... I wanted to. I'm sorry.
Helen places a finger over Vi's lips, meets her gaze, and speaks in a warm, sure tone.
It isn't your fault. It wasn't fair for me to suddenly ask so much of you. But things are different now. And doubt is a luxury we can't afford anymore, sweetie. You have more power than you realize. Don't think. Don't worry. If the time comes, you'll know what to do. It's in your blood.
Helen gives Violet a firm nod and disappears into the night. Violet watches her mother get swallowed by the darkness. She looks down at the mask in her hands and carefully puts it on. At An observation center at Syndrome's base. Lost in thought, Syndrome stares down at the massive rocket in the center of the volcano poised to launch.
He's not weak, you know.
Mirage is seated at one of the many consoles, taking notes, her back to him. Syndrome snaps out of his dream and turns to Mirage, the only other person in the room.
What?
Valuing life is not weakness.
Syndrome crosses to her, casually dismissive.
Hey, if you're talking about what happened in the containment unit, I had everything under control.
And disregarding it is not strength.
Syndrome sidles up behind her, lifts her chin with a gentle hand, and draws her face toward us.
I called his bluff, sweetheart. That's all. I knew he wouldn't have it in him to actually...
Mirage shoves his hand aside and rises to confront him.
Next time you gamble, bet your own life.
She exits, leaving Syndrome befuddled and alone. That night in the jungle, Helen enters a clearing and looks up. A monorail track soars high above the jungle floor. A monopod is coming. Helen throws her hands high, stretching them up to the pod passing overhead. It yanks her off screen. Moving through the trees, Helen hangs suspended beneath the pod on long arms, alternating hands to swing around the support columns. Gaining momentum with each swing, she throws her body above the roof of the car, landing expertly on top. On top of the pod, Helen sprints into the rushing wind, sees the track slicing through the dense jungle canopy, and leading directly into the base of the towering volcano. A familiar hum causes her to hide, and she slips down one side of the pod out of view as two hover jets buzz by. Helen watches the jets descend to a landing strip inside the volcano just as the pod plunges into a tunnel and, inside the tunnel, darkness. Suddenly an opening in the tunnel rushes by and Helen catches a glimpse of the rocket and whoosh, the pod is back in the tunnel. Helen stretches her torso out like a sail. It catches wind and she releases from the pod, reforms and drops to the tracks with cat-like grace. Inside the base of the tunnel entrance, Helen peeks out of the tunnel, looks out of the heavily guarded launch pad.
A rocket?
Visible inside the open tip of the rocket sits a huge metallic wing with an enormous circular hole, empty, in its center, waiting to be filled with... what? In another corridor, two armed guards march past camera. Unseen above them, Helen is stretched thin and hiding in a cluster of pipes which run down the center of the corridor. She watches as the guards exit through a sliding door. She drops down like a liquid cat to the floor and begins to move down the corridor. As Helen passes a metal door, she catches sight of her reflection in its shiny surface. She stops, frowns. It's been a while since her last supersuit. Her butt is a little bigger than she remembered. She wonders if she should lose a few, when the whoosh of a door surprises her. A guard comes through the door at the far end of the hall. As he enters another junction, we see that Helen has contorted herself, arching perfectly around the doorframe. The guard doesn't see her. He slides a key card through a reader to enter a restricted corridor. The door, whoosh, open. Directly behind him, Helen silently reforms and begins to go back through the doorway when the door behind her slides shut, trapping Helen's leg. She winces, tries in vain to pull it free. It's stuck, leaving one hope. The card key on guard number 1's belt. Stretching across the corridor, Helen clambers after the guard on the palms of her hands, following him into the inner chamber. The guard stops at the elevator and presses the call button, his back to Helen. Just behind him, stretched far and held upright on one hand, Helen reaches with the other for the card key. She almost has it. At the corridor, the door suddenly closes on her stretched torso. Her upper third snaps back, her middle third trapped and now stretched across the hallway. Two more guards are traveling in a transport. They are suddenly clotheslined by Helen's stretched torso, knocking the wind out of Helen. Directly in front of her on the far end of the hall, the elevator opens for guard number 1, revealing guard number 4 inside. He sees Helen.
Hey, what are you doing?
Helen's arm stretches forward. In an inner chamber, in a blink, her fist clocks guard number 4, disarms guard number 1, hitting him with the butt of his gun. As guard number 4 drops to the floor, number 1 hits the close button on the panel. The doors close on Helen's arm. Guard number 1 grins. Helen's hand feels around, finds guard number 1, his chest, his chin, and punches his light out. He drops. In the middle corridor, the torso guard number 2 and 3 get to their feet and see Helen, her arms still stretched through the glass door. They level their guns at her. At the same moment, another guard, number 5, comes upon Helen's leg closed in the doors. The sight is so odd, he can only stare. He decides to poke the leg with the barrel of his machine gun. As she reacts to the poke, she scowls. Her leg cocks back and fishtail kicks guard number 5. He flies backwards, his weapons just charging into the card scanner. The door opens, freeing Helen's legs, which sail across the corridor and smash the torso guards number 2 and number 3 against the middle door. They slide down into a heap, out cold. Inside the elevator, Helen's arm finds one of the guards' card keys, slides it into the door scanner. The doors open, releasing her torso. Helen drags the last of the unconscious guards over to an open wall panel and stuffs him inside with the others. She throws her weight against the panel, finally getting it shut. And then we close on a force field glowing purple and fluttering around a campfire. It struggles to take form and finally does, trapping the fire's smoke inside. Inside a cave, Dash watches as Violet practices intently. She releases the force field spear. The dark smoke ball rises upwards. Vi throws another force field, recapturing the smoke at the roof of the cave. Dash gets to his feet, grabs a burning branch from the fire to use as a torch.
Well, not that this isn't fun, but I'm gonna go look around.
What do you think is going on here? You think we're on vacation or something? Mom and Dad's lives could be in jeopardy, or worse, their marriage.
Their marriage? So the bad guys are trying to wreck Mom and Dad's marriage?
Oh, forget it. You're so immature.
Okay, I'm gonna go look around.
Mom said to stay hidden.
I'm not gonna leave the cave. Sheesh.
At the same time in the rocket control room, ground control technicians watch from the observation window as a giant metal sphere, a massive version of the dreaded Omnidroid, is carefully guided into place inside the top stage of the rocket. The rocket's nose cone is lowered over the Omnidroid and secured into place. The cylindrical blast shield closes around the rocket. Inside the cave, lighting his way with a burning branch, Dash explores the depths of the cave. Suddenly, the floor becomes smooth. Dash looks down, then holds his torch up. He's inside an enormous, man-made tunnel.
Cool!
His voice echoes a bit. Dash brightens. He calls again, louder this time.
Cool! 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 Cool!
His voice echoes. Cool, cool, cool. Back in the control room, Syndrome shoves a pass key into the control board, gives the key a twist, and then presses the launch button. In the launch tube, the rocket's engines fire. The sound is deafening as the rocket's massive weight slowly lifts into the air. Inside the cave, in the tunnel entrance, a low rumble and a subtle push of warm wind emanate from the depths of the tunnel, which begins to glow. Dash's smile drops as he realizes it's an enormous fireball rocketing towards him. He turns and runs with Violet. Vi is still practicing force fields when the depths of the cave begin to rumble and glow. She looks up.
Vi! 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 Vi!
What did you do?
Outside the cave, Dash and Violet race out of the cave, getting clear just as an enormous wall of flame erupts after them. They look down with a shudder at how close they came. A roar behind them causes them to turn, and a rocket emerges from the center of the volcano and soars into the night. In the control room detention block, Helen looks down from some vents into the ceiling. Silently, she stretches her neck until her head dangles down just behind the guards. Helen scans the detention grid and notices a tremendous spike of power to restrain the prisoner in cell 13.
Bob?
Helen quickly pulls her head back up through the vents in the ceiling and exits.
Huh? What?
I didn't say anything.
Above the Earth, the final stage of the Omnidroid's capsule separates. The Omni-ship begins to descend below the cloud layer toward the city. In the Nomanazan jungle the next morning, Dash awakens, discovering to his horror that he's curled up with a Violet. Repulsed, he jumps up and shudders.
Identification.
Startled, Dash turns toward the sound. A brightly colored bird perches in a nearby tree.
Identification, please.
Hey, Violet! Look! It's
Huh?
there!
What?
That one!
Voice key
Walks up and stares, also beguiled by the bird.
Voice key incorrect.
Dash chortles. Violet smiles, starts to fade.
Voice key. Wait a second.
The bird's head slowly swivels toward the kids with a soft computing sound. Its eyes light up red as its beak drops open, and it lets out a shrill electronic alarm. In the jungle, Dash and Violet. Violet backs away from the shrieking bird, Dash following after her, panicking.
What do we do?
Run!
Where are we going?
Eddie! Away from here!
They turn and run. The shrieking bird takes wing, following after them. At Syndrome's base monitoring station, alarms sound. A section of the island grid lights up, locating the kids. A guard hits the scramble button. At the same time, in the base, Helen hears the alarm and watches as the guards scramble. Guards on velocipods zoom out into the jungle. In a containment unit, Bob hangs, defeated in the suspension beams. The cell doors slide open, and a figure is silhouetted there. Mirage. She switches off the suspension ray, and Bob drops to the floor. Bob just sits there on his knees, his eyes cast downward, and Mirage crosses to him and kneels down.
There isn't much time.
Bob's hand flashes out and clamps around her throat. He rises, holding her dangling body aloft with one hand.
No, there isn't. In fact, there's no time at all.
Please.
Why are you here? How can you possibly bring me lower? What more can you take away from me?
Ellie survived the crash. They're here on the island.
Bob releases his grip. Mirage drops to the floor, gasping raggedly. Bob lifts her up and embraces her. Mirage drinks it in, then reacts at the sight of the figure in the doorway. Bob looks up.
Helen?
Mirage and Bob part. Mirage composing herself.
Hello, you must be Mrs. Incredible.
Helen's fist flies across the room and cracks across Mirage's jaw. Mirage spins and crashes to the ground. Bob seizes Helen's stretched wrist.
She was helping me to escape.
No, that's what I was doing.
Bob pulls her to him. She resists, pushing him away with her stretchy limbs like a cat being forced into a bath.
Let go of me! Let go! You lousy, lying, unfaithful creep!
Bob smothers her protest with a big kiss.
How can I betray the perfect woman?
Oh, you're referring to me now.
Where are the kids?
Mirage sits up, holding her jaw.
They might have triggered the alert. Security sent them in the jungle. You better get going.
What? Now our kids are in danger?
Bob and Helen turn to exit, bickering as they do.
If you suspected danger, why'd you bring them?
I didn't bring them. They stowed away, and I don't think you're striking the proper tone here right now.
At the same time, with Dash and Vi in the jungle running blindly, the kids are suddenly confronted by guards on 3-man velocipods. Glancing at the guards, Violet speaks quietly to Dash.
Dash, remember what Mom said.
What? What?
Stop talking. Abruptly, Vi vanishes. Dash looks around in surprise.
Dash, run!
Suddenly understanding, Dash bolts, jumping from the transport and vanishing into the jungle. It happens fast. The guard's head snaps toward the sound of Vi's voice. He swings his rifle. We hear a heavy thud as Violet's invisible body is knocked from the transport. A cloud of dust surrounds an impression in the dirt.
They're supers!
Get the boy!
3 guards take off after Dash on velocipods.
Show yourself.
Racing through the jungle, Dash blasts through the foliage on foot, unbelievably fast. A man velocipod hot on his tail, but the terrain is dense, uneven, and difficult, and Dash is forced to adhere to the thin trail winding through the growth. Up ahead, a swarm of flies fusses in the air. Suddenly, Dash bursts into view, rocketing right through the swarm. Bugs splatter Dash's face like an interstate windshield.
Dash stumbles, careens end over through the undergrowth like an Indy 500 car crash, and finally tumbles to a stop. Unharmed, but thoroughly repulsed, Dash wipes his bug-spattered face and teeth. A velocipod bursts out of the brush after him and he takes off, tearing through the jungle. Running fast, Dash grabs a long vine, which sends him out in a wide arc that surprises the trailing guard. He shoots past Dash and roars off into the undergrowth. Dash releases the vine, tumbling roughly to his feet, and runs. A velocipod bursts out of the brush and is on top of him. Impossibly, Dash accelerates, staying just ahead of it. He sees another vine, grabs it, and is propelled upwards above the trees. Dash explodes out of the canopy, flailing, out of control. He looks down and he sees the treetops suddenly drop away. Dash is falling off a cliff, screaming his 10-year-old lungs out as he lands on a velocipod. Fleetingly astonished by his good luck, Dash looks up as the startled guard whirls around to face him. The guard swings, and Dash ducks and reluctantly throws a punch at the guard's face. It lands. Thrilled that his raw speed renders the guard powerless to dodge or return his punches, Dash laughs and, growing more confident with each punch, socks the guard again and again, blissfully unaware that no one is driving. Dash looks up. His jaw drops. A rock wall looms ahead. Dash points at it, and the guard sees an opening and socks Dash in the face, knocking him off just as the velocipod slams into the cliff face, vaporizing in a fireball. Dash falls, making desperate, flailing grabs as he hits off a branch and arresting his descent. He pants, heart racing, and looks down to see his feet dangling about a yard off the jungle floor. Elated about his survival, Dash drops to the ground and lets out a loud whoop, immediately alerting two guards on velocipods nearby to his presence. They turn their V-pods after him, and with Dash, as he bolts again, accelerating to breakneck speed, he smashes through an endless succession of foliage, nearly colliding with tree trunks and rocks, and suddenly, a lagoon lies in front of him. Dash reacts. The V-pods are on his tail. He has nowhere to go, so he takes a deep breath and steps on it, and has enough velocity to run across the water. Amazed and exhilarated, Dash blasts across the water's surface, weaving like a speedboat around the large volcanic rocks jumping out of the water. Velocipods open fire, strafing the water as Dash is pursued into a cave. Velocipod number 2 pulls up short at the cave entrance and chooses to go around. And inside the cave, Dash runs, Velocipod on his heels, weaves around rocks, manages to put some distance between himself and the Velocipod when he sees V-Pod number 2 coming straight at him. Dash wheels around, his legs churning the water like an egg beater. He sees V-Pod number 1 closing fast, and he has nowhere to go, and like a deer in the headlights, Dash stops, suddenly dropping beneath the water's surface as the Velocipods collide. And boom! Somewhere in the jungle, moving at that same moment, Bob and Helen run, not tired, but breathing hard.
Should have told you I was fired. I admit it, but I didn't want you to worry.
You didn't want me to worry, and now we're running for our lives through some godforsaken jungle?
You keep trying to pick a fight, but I'm still just happy you're alive.
In another part of the jungle, Violet and the guard the remaining guard sits and waits, his machine gun at the ready. Suddenly, the dirt moves. The guard fires, strafing the ground just behind a succession of footprints that streak towards the river moments before a splash appears. The river, under the water's surface, we see a violet-shaped distortion as bullet trails furiously slice the surrounding water. With the guard still firing, he stops, unnerved and adrenalized, tensed and ready, he nervously scans the river.
I know you're there, little Miss Disappear. You can't hide from me.
Training his gun where he last saw Violet, the guard grabs a handful of dirt from the riverbank and throws it into the water. He shoulders his rifle, watching the dirt turn into a brown cloud as it travels downstream, making visible a violet-shaped pocket.
There you are.
The guard takes aim and Dash blurs past. Hey! Knocking the guard's gun barrel down skyward as it fires. The guard swings around, strafing the ground at Dash's heels as he plunges back into the jungle. A splash explodes from the river as invisible Violet makes a break for it. The guard sees this and swings the gun toward her as Dash blasts out of the jungle and knocks the guard's legs out from under him. They tumble and scrap, Dash redeeming his lack of size with the lightning-fast punches and feints.
Stay away from my sister!
Disoriented, the guard swings and connects, knocking Dash off his feet. He tumbles backwards, dazed. The guard shoulders his rifle, leveling it at Dash. Dash looks up, sees he's screwed. The guard grins wickedly and pulls the trigger. And Violet suddenly appears in midair, diving in front of Dash as she throws a force field around them. A hail of bullets ricochet off the force field. And inside the force field, Dash looks up and sees Violet suspended in midair in the center of the electric sphere.
How are you doing that?
I don't know.
Well, whatever you do, don't stop!
And it goes wider as Dash starts to walk within the force field like a gerbil on a wheel. Violet spins ever faster in the sphere's hub as Dash accelerates into a run. The guards empty their clips of the rolling sphere with no effect. It rumbles past them and straight into the jungle. And moving with the rolling force field, it carries Dash and Vi down a steep hillside into the path of two speeding Velocipods who fire at the sphere. It's clipped by one Velocipod, which then spirals into a rock and explodes. A jungle clearing not too far away. At the same moment, Bob and Helen hear the explosion's echo and stop, worried. That's when they hear the rumble. Before they can get clear, the rolling force field bursts out of the brush. And inside the sphere, the children react as their surprised parents flatten against the force field like dough against a rolling pin, revolving in and out of view.
Mom! Dad!
And we go back to the wide view. Violet vanishes the force field, and the entire family tumbles to the jungle floor.
Kids!
There's a frantic, joyful exchange of hugs and kisses. Unfortunately, cut short when Velocipods explode out of the foliage. The Incredibles instantly jump to their feet, and Helen throws a stretched scissors kick, which catches a guard in the chest, knocking him out of his V-pod. Bob chops a second passing Velocipod. It plows straight into the soft jungle floor. Before its pilot can react, Helen's arm is coiled around him. She yanks him from the vehicle, whiplashing him into another guard, knocking them both out cold. Bob grabs the crashed V-pod and frisbees it into a V-pod emerging from the trees. Boom! And it's over. Bob and Helen had forgotten how good they were, and they exchanged lustful glances.
I love you.
I love you.
Suddenly, the jungle is filled with guards and Velocipods, and just as quickly as the Incredibles turn, as one against them, a hurricane blur of superpowers suddenly brought to a crashing halt, as a MOBA rays strike the Incredibles, suspending them all motionless in midair.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Time out.
Syndrome keeps his wrists cropped, one beam trained on the suspended couple, the other on the suspended kids.
What do we have here? Matching uniforms?
He glances between the four faces, his eyes narrow as he zeroes in on Helen. An astonished smile splits his face.
Oh, no! Elastigirl? You married Elastigirl. And got busy. Oh, it's a whole family of supers. Looks like I hit the jackpot. Oh, this is too good.
On a giant screen, network news footage of a crowd gathered around a smoldering Hulk resting at the base of a large building. The TV channel changes. Another reporter is covering the same story. Camera widens on Syndrome, who's delightedly channel surfing with a remote control of his own invention. We are in the prison chamber in Syndrome's base. The Incredibles, Bob, Helen, Violet, and Dash are all imprisoned side by side in suspension beams.
Huh? Huh? Oh, come on. You gotta admit this is cool, just like a movie. The robot will emerge dramatically, do some damage, throngs of screaming people, and just when all hope is lost, Syndrome will save the day. I'll be a bigger hero than you ever were.
You mean you killed off real heroes so that you could pretend to be one?
Oh, I'm real. Real enough to defeat you, and I did it without your precious gifts, your oh so special powers. I'll give them heroics. I'll give them the most spectacular heroics anyone's ever seen. And when I'm old and I've had my fun, I'll sell my inventions. So everyone can be superheroes. Everyone can be super. And when everyone's super, no one will be.
Syndrome exits, cackling. We resume the containment unit. The Incredibles hang in midair, defeated, as a live newscast covers the terrifying Omnidroid attack.
I'm sorry.
The others look up in dull surprise at Bob's confession.
This is my fault. I've been a lousy father. Blind to what I have.
Behind Bob, Violet begins to rock back and forth, revealing that she's suspended not in Syndrome's ray, but in the center of her own force field.
So obsessed with being undervalued that I undervalued all of you.
Dad.
Shh, don't interrupt.
So caught up in the past that you are my greatest adventure. And I almost missed it.
Violet has gathered enough momentum to roll her sphere out of the suspension beam and over to the control panel.
I swear, I'm gonna get us out of this if...
Well, I think Dad has made some excellent progress today, but it's time to wind down now.
Violet throws a switch, releasing the Incredibles from the beam as they drop to the floor. In the launching bay in No Monoson, the Incredibles race through an empty corridor.
We need to get back to the mainland.
I saw an aircraft hangar on my way in. Straight ahead, I think.
Bob's hands pry open the heavy metal doors, crunching them like foil. The Incredibles enter the huge hangar, unmolested.
Where are all the guards? Go! Go!
Laughter drips out of a large Winnebago crowned with transmission arrays parked near the launch pad. Inside the Winnebago, the guards watch live coverage of the Omnidroid attack on a video monitor. Champagne is popped. The cork is unexpectedly caught by someone standing in the doorway. Mr. Incredible. The guards fall silent. Outside the mobile unit, the vehicle rocks as Bob quickly punches out the guards within. In moments, Bob emerges, whistles to his family that the coast is clear.
This is the hangar, but I don't see any jets.
That's not fast enough.
What's faster than a jet?
How about a rocket?
The other Incredibles follow Dash's finger to an enormous shield-shaped rocket, identical to the one launched earlier, save for a perfect circular hole in the center.
Great. I can't fly a rocket.
You don't have to. Use the coordinates from the last launch.
Bob and Helen beam at their daughter's cleverness. Then Bob's smile fades.
Wait. I'll bet Syndrome's changed the password by now. How do I get into the computer?
A voice comes over the loudspeaker.
Say please.
The Incredibles turn and look up. Mirage stands in the monitoring station above the launch pad, smiling. Interior in a high-rise apartment in Municiberg. At the same moment, a stereo plays soft jazz as Lucius Best, aka Frozone, dresses for dinner. He slaps some aftershave on his face, checking his look in the mirror. A low series of booms grows louder and louder, causing him to look up and see the Omnidroid, lumbering past the soaring windows of his 5th-floor apartment, a military chopper strafing it with the machine gun fire. Immediately goes through his dresser drawers.
Honey?
What is it?
Honey,
What?
where's my super suit?
What?
Where is my super suit?
Oh, I put it away.
The military chopper, now on fire, spirals past the picture window and explodes, lighting up the room.
Where?
Why do you need to know?
I need it.
Frozone is running now, down the hallway, going in and out of view, frantically searching rooms and closets.
You better not be thinking about doing no daring do. We've been planning this dinner for 2 months.
The public is in danger.
My evening's in danger.
Tell me where my suit is, woman. We're talking about the greater good.
Greater good? I am your wife. I am the greatest good you're ever gonna get.
Exterior, in the city streets, moments later, the driver of a gasoline tanker truck screeches to a halt, his eyes bugging out at the rampaging robot.
Run!
He jumps from the truck just as the robot seizes the tanker in a giant claw and flings it down the street. A young mother sees it arcing toward her and her baby carriage.
My baby!
The crowd is immediately electrified by the sight of the red-haired superhero. The supers have returned. Is that Phyronic? No, Phyronic has a different outfit.
No. I'm a new superhero. I am Syndrome.
Syndrome carelessly flings the tanker truck behind him with a flourish. It explodes, frightening the crowd.
All right. Stand back, everyone.
The Omnidroid reaches a massive claw towards Syndrome, who presses a series of buttons on his power cuff. The robot freezes suddenly, idling. Syndrome smiles, pressing another series of buttons on his remote.
Someone needs to teach this hunk of metal a few manners.
Putting on a good show, Syndrome flies around the idling bot and delivers a punch to one of its leg sockets. From the Omnidroid's point of view, technical readouts spray across its view screen as it confirms Syndrome's instructions. Restrain battle mode. Detach arm at signal. We resume outside of the Omnidroid. On cue, one of the Omnidroid's limbs suddenly falls out of its socket, thudding uselessly to the ground. As Syndrome revels in the cheers of the crowd, we push in on the Omnidroid, watching Syndrome and thinking. From the Omnidroid's POV, technical readouts spray across its view screen as it analyzes. Control stolen by external signal. Locate source, external signal. Columns of numbers are crunched. The Omnidroid's lens eye zooms in on the control bands around Syndrome's wrist. Signal source, remote control, and comes to a logical conclusion. Override external control, destroy remote control. Outside the Omnidroid, it fires a precise laser shot, blasting the remote right off of Syndrome's wrist. It clatters to the street, and Syndrome whirls around in horror as the bot goes after him. Omnidroid trounces Syndrome, knocking him out cold. The robot then resumes its havoc. And then Frozone appears on the scene. High above the Earth, another rocket, identical to the first one, descends from the clouds. Again, it separates into quarters which fall away, revealing the landing craft inside. And only then do we notice what's different about it. In the center of the large, perfectly round hole designed to house the Omnidroid is a Winnebago, precariously held in place by a very stretched, very stressed Helen. Inside the van, Bob is at the wheel. Vi and Dash are seated at a small table in the back.
Are we there yet?
We get there when we get there!
Bob opens his window. Wind rushes in, scattering loose debris everywhere. Outside the van, Bob leans out the window, shouts to Helen up on the roof.
How you doing, honey? What? I can't hear you!
Do I have to answer?
The giant wing is descending, gliding closer to the water as the city looms closer directly ahead. Inside the van,
Kids, strap yourselves down like I told you!
the kids move to the seats of the monitor panels, belting themselves in. Bob opens his window and yells up to Helen.
Here we go, honey! Ready, Violet?
Violet holds a hand over a giant, jerry-rigged release switch.
Ready? Now!
Vi slams the switch. Outside the van, the explosive bolts of fire, separating the wing. Helen lets go with a pained shout, swings inside through the window. Inside the van, Bob steps on the gas. The van wheels spin. Bob tenses as he watches the speedometer move past 110, 120, 130.
This is gonna be rough!
Outside on the city streets, moving with them, the van sails over an overpass, clipping a light pole and crashes into the pavement on a shower of sparks. It flies down the street at 200 miles per hour. Fighting to keep control, Bob hits the brakes. Smoke erupts from the wheel wells. And outside the van, moving with them,
the robot is in the financial district. Which exit do I take?
Traction Avenue.
Don't take me downtown. I take 7th, don't I?
Bob cranks the wheel and cuts across several lanes toward the 7th Street exit.
Don't take 7!
Bob aborts the exit, swerving hard to avoid collision.
Wait, we missed it!
You asked me how to get there, and I told you exit at Traction.
That'll take me downtown!
It's coming up. Get in the right lane.
We don't exit at Traction!
You're gonna miss it!
Yeah!
Exterior on the freeway, moving with the van takes a violent swerve across 6 lanes, barely making the off-ramp. Sparks spray as the van slams into the metal railing. The van careens off the railing and into traffic, narrowly missing a semi. The horns blare. Inside the van, Bob's teeth clench as he fights to slow the car down. He stomps both feet on the brakes. Outside the van, its tires are smoking. It pulls sideways and loses it, tumbling down the center of the street, spraying metal pieces in its wake. It rolls into an open parking space and lands miraculously upright, stripped like an ear of eaten corn. Inside the van, Bob and Helen sit up woozily. Bob turns to the kids.
Is everybody okay back there?
Violet and Dash pull themselves upright. They look as if they've emerged from an industrial tumble dryer.
Super duper dad!
Let's do that again!
The Omnidroid comes into view through the cracked windshield. Bob releases his seatbelt and turns to Helen.
Wait here and stay hidden. I'm going in.
Outside the van, Bob grimly starts after the Omnidroid. Helen stretches an arm out and grabs his shoulder, spinning him around.
While what? I watch helplessly from the sidelines? I don't think so.
I'm asking you to wait with the kids.
And I'm telling you, not a chance. You're my husband. I'm with you, for better or worse.
I have to do this alone.
What is this to you, playtime?
No.
So you can be Mr. Incredible again?
No!
Then what? What is it?
I'm not...
What? Not what?
Not strong enough!
Strong enough, and this will make you stronger?
Yes! No!
This is some sort of a workout?
I can't lose you again!
Helen is stunned. She stares at Bob, whose head is bowed like a child.
I can't. Not again. I'm not strong enough.
Helen searches Bob's eyes, deeply touched. She throws her arms around him, kissing him.
If we work together, we won't have to be.
Bob looks into her eyes, equally tender.
I don't know what'll happen.
Hey, we're superheroes. What could happen?
And just then, Violet screams. She and Dash jump clear just as the van is crushed by the Omnidroid's metal foot. The Incredibles all run. Another Omnidroid foot smashes into the street, blocking the kids' way. Bob and Helen stop, whirling.
Bye, Dash, no!
The Omnidroid is now fully focused on the kids, pounding Violet's force field relentlessly with its giant claws. The shield holds. The bot drops itself up and drops. The entirety of its massive bulk slams into the force field, knocking Vi unconscious. Her force field flickers out.
Violet?
Again, the bot draws itself up to deliver the crushing blow. Dash cringes and the bot drops. Hits an obstacle halfway down. Dash looks up.
Dad!
Bob is underneath the bot, on his back, his arms and legs straining under the weight of it.
Go! Go!
Vi comes to and is instantly yanked out from under the machine and into Helen's arms. Dash follows them around the corner. In straining, Bob lifts the bot enough to get his feet underneath him. The bot snatches Bob out from underneath and flings him at a building across the street. Inside the building on the 8th floor offices, the windows shatter as Bob's body tumbles across the floor, scattering desks and chairs. Outside, back on the city streets, Helen rounds a corner out of the Omnidroid's view and carefully sets Violet down. She looks at Dash and Vi.
Stay here, okay?
Helen turns away, charging back toward the robot. Vi and Dash watch their fearless mother in amazement. With Bob and the Omnidroid, as the bot pulls itself up the building to look for Bob. Bob charges the bot, hitting it with enough force to dislodge it from the building. It falls, crashing into the street with an earth-shattering boom. Bob falls with it, but rolls and lands on his feet. The familiar sound of cracking ice causes Bob to look up.
Frozone! Yeah!
A narrow sheet of ice streaks across the pavement and Frozone skates past, joining the fight. Following Frozone, he moves to the Omnidroid, expertly icing its joints as it tries to get up. The machine whines as its motors strain against the ice. And further down the street, Helen rushes up to Bob.
Bob!
Just then, Frozone sails into frame and crashes into the roof of a parked car. Bob turns angrily toward the robot.
Hey!
It is immediately smacked by the robot. Bob flies into the side of a building and tumbles to the street. Frozone and Helen distract the robot, heckling it and spreading out. He goes after them like an enraged beast. Dazed, Bob looks up and sees a strange device on the ground in front of him. He examines it, his eyes widening when he realizes what it is. He holds it up, yelling excitedly to the others.
Syndrome's removed!
Wham! The box comes down on Bob like a ton of bricks, lifting him high above the ground. Miraculously, Bob has held onto the remote. He quickly stabs at the buttons, hoping to get lucky. With a boom, one of the bot's limbs releases, sending it and Bob crashing to the ground. And around the corner, Violet sees this. She turns to Dash.
The remote controls the robot.
With Bob and the Omnidroid knows this too, and it fires laser blasts at Bob to try to stop Bob from using the remote. Bob jumps clear, then hears his son from down the street.
Hey, Dad, throw it! Throw it!
Go long!
Bob gives the remote a monster throw, flinging it high into the air and across the river. Dash pivots and takes off after it. The Omni sees Dash and starts firing after him. With Dash, as he hits the water, jetting across the water's surface as the Omni fires away. The water explodes around Dash, but he concentrates on the remote, following it into his hands like an NFL receiver.
I got it!
Dash crosses the river and hits the streets on the other side, seemingly home free. But the Omni is still firing, and it hits some cars in Dash's paths, igniting their gas tanks. Suddenly, Dash is surrounded by a wall of flames. With Bob, he runs toward Helen, who is closer to the Omnidroid.
Honey, take out its guns!
And Helen hears this. She grabs a heavy manhole cover, winding her elastic arm around a light pole to fling it, like an arrow, at the Omnidroid's gun. Bullseye. Across the river, what follows amounts to a game of hot potato between the supers and the robot over the remote. Frozone saves Dash from the circle of burning cars. The robot sees this and goes after them. With Dash on his back, Frozone races across the river, freezing it in front of him as he goes. The robot jumps, almost on top of them, creating a massive wave, throwing Dash and Frozone high into the air. Thinking fast, Frozone turns the wave into a wall of snow. It crashes over the streets and cushions their fall. In the street nearby, the remote clatters to the ground. Bob sees it and runs for it. The bot sees Bob and fires a claw, catching Bob just as he was reaching for the remote. The claw, with Bob inside, tumbles end over end down the street. With Bob out of the way, the bot heads for the remote. Frozone ices the robot's path, causing the bot's metal feet to slip and slide. Helen runs ahead of the bot, stretching herself into a tripwire across the stumbling robot's path. It crashes to the street. The bot looks up. The remote lies on the street just in front of it, easily within its grasp, and the bot reaches out with a claw to destroy the remote. The remote magically jumps clear. The bot tries again, and again the remote darts away. Riled now, the bot rears up and stabs wildly at the remote with all of its arms. We hear Violet shriek as the remote repeatedly eludes the robot's grasp, finally tangling its legs so badly that it topples over. And Violet reappears, running back to join the group in the middle of the street.
I got the remote!
A remote? A remote that controls what?
Violet begins to fiddle with the remote's click wheel, poking its buttons to no effect. The robot has gotten to its feet and lunges toward them. Violet shrieks and presses the button the last time. Rockets fire underneath the robot's clawed feet, lifting the enormous machine into the air.
The robot?
Everyone ducks as the robot rockets overhead, crashing into a building at the end of the street. Like a woozy prize fighter, the Omnidroid gets back onto its feet.
It's coming back!
Dash snatches the remote from Violet, aims it at the robot, spins the click wheel, and presses a button. Behind Dash and unseen by all, the claws on the robot's detached arms spring open, flinging Bob into the air.
That wasn't right.
Oh, give me that!
Down the street with Bob, he climbs to his feet, muttering to himself.
We can't stop it. Anything hard enough to penetrate it is.
A thought hits him. He turns, staring at the metal claw.
Itself.
With Frozone, Helen, and the kids, Helen has the remote now and is trying to figure it out. The Omnidroid has them all in its sights and is lumbering towards them. The kids are starting to panic.
This'll work. This'll work. Lucius, try to buy us some time.
Try the one next to it.
Lucius takes off, throwing ice and skating down the street towards the approaching robot. He jumps off an ice ramp, his skates converting into a circular ski disc in midair. He lands, throwing a massive ice wall in front of the robot. With Bob, as he closes the claw into a massive arrowhead and starts charging down the street. Back to Helen and the kids. Helen dials the click wheel on the remote, pokes a button. And back to Bob. The back of the claw suddenly fires a rocket engine. Bob veers crazily, trying to control it. And again, back to Helen and the kids. She pokes the button again. Now close to the group, Bob's claw rocket switches off. And Bob gets an idea.
Wait a minute. It's that button again!
Helen presses a button. The claw blades start to spin.
No! The other one! The first one!
First button, got it!
The Omnidroid has broken through the first ice wall and pounding away at a second one. Though Frozone's giving it all he's got, the robot's starting to get through.
Helen!
Helen looks at the remote and gestures at her kids.
Get out of here, kids. Find a safe spot.
We're not going anywhere.
Press the button!
Not yet!
The Omnidroid is pounding through the second wall. Bob shouts from behind them.
What are you waiting for?
A closer target. You've got one shot.
The Omnidroid shatters the last wall. It's almost on top of them. Helen presses the button. The claw rocket fires. Bob aims it directly at the Omnidroid's metal underbelly.
Everybody duck!
And releases it. The giant metal arrow roars overhead and drills clean through the robot's body, coming out on the other side. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then the gargantuan machine keels over and explodes. It's over. The family look at each other, stunned. Frozone starts to chuckle. Bob smiles as he looks at his super family. It feels like his best memories, only better. The seemingly empty city begins to come to life. As people emerge from their hiding places, converging in the street, people begin to spontaneously cheer the heroes, welcoming the supers' return. Two elderly gentlemen stand together in the crowd, and one nudges the other.
Hey, you see that there? That's the way you do it. That's old school.
Yep, no school like the old school.
On a nearby rooftop, Syndrome comes to, looks over the edge to the streets below to find the battle over and the masses cheering. Not for him, but for the group of supers. He darkens.
No.
With Frozone and the Incredibles, they drink in the cheers as the adoring crowd gathers around them.
Just like old times.
Just like old times.
Bob slaps Frozone on the back. A little too hard. Frozone shakes it off.
Yeah, hurt then too.
Outside on the city streets, now near dusk, a long black limo cruises down the street. Inside the limo, Bob sits proudly with his family as Rick Dicker debriefs them. Everybody is enjoying the moment, save for Helen, who's already clicked back into mother mode and is using the car phone to get messages.
We've frozen all of his assets. If Syndrome even sneezes, we'll be there with a hanky and a pair of handcuffs. The people of this country are indebted to you. We'll make good on it.
Does this mean we can come out of hiding?
Let the politicians figure that one out. But I've been asked to assure you that we'll take care of everything else. You did good, Bob.
Dash plays with the electric windows as Helen retrieves messages from the car phone. Window up, window down.
Hello, Mrs. Parr. Everything's fine. But there's something unusual about Jack Jack. Can you call me? Okay.
Window up, down, up. Finally, Helen snaps.
Come on, we're in a limo.
Bob is looking appreciatively at Violet.
You're wearing your hair back.
Huh? Oh, yeah, yeah.
It looks good.
Thanks, Dad.
That was so cool when you threw that car.
Not as cool as you running on water.
And Mom, hey Mom, that was so sweet when you snagged that bad guy with your arm and kind of just like, whoa, whip-pow, whiplashed him into the other guy.
I'm trying to listen to messages, honey.
And we totally aced those guys that tried to kill us. That was the best vacation ever. I love our family.
It's me. Jack's still fine. But I'm really getting weirded out. When are you coming back?
Bob, listen to this.
Helen is listening to the last message as the limo slows to a stop in front of their house.
Here we are.
Hi, this is Carrie. Sorry for freaking out, but your baby has special needs. Anyway, thanks for sending the replacement sitter.
Replacement? I didn't call for a replacement.
Bob's eyes widen. He and Helen jump from the car, followed by the kids. They cross the lawn and burst through the front door to reveal Syndrome, who spins, hitting the family with his 0-point ray, cradling a sleeping Jack Jack in his arms. He grins.
Shh. Baby's sleeping.
He cackles. The Incredibles are frozen and helpless in the grasp of the 0 Point. Only their eyes betray their desperation.
You took away my future. I'm simply returning the favor. Don't worry, I'll be a good mentor. Supportive, encouraging, everything you weren't. And in time, who knows? They might make a good sidekick.
Syndrome flings the family into the bookcase. He points his power band toward the roof and blows a huge hole in it, revealing his manta jet hovering high above. Syndrome fires his jet boots and takes off towards the jet.
He's getting away, Bob! We have to do something! We have to do something now!
Ascending with Syndrome and Jack Jack, Jack Jack awakens to the sight of his family and home receding beneath him. He cries, reaching out for them. Syndrome nears the manta jet. Jack Jack's crying turns angry, and suddenly he bursts into flames. Syndrome shrieks. Jack Jack's fire goes out, revealing that the baby has turned entirely to metal. Syndrome drops with a sudden weight. His jet boots compensate, but Syndrome is struggling to stay aloft. The baby's flesh reverts to normal, but the baby begins to vibrate fiercely. Syndrome can barely keep a hold of him. And on the ground, Helen turns to Bob, panicked.
Something's happening! What's happening?
We go back to Syndrome and Jack Jack. The vibrating baby begins to redden, transforming abruptly into a mini monster. The Jack Jack monster throws a headlock around Syndrome, laughing maniacally, and starts to rip apart Syndrome's jet boots. On the ground, Bob and Helen watch helplessly.
We have to stop him! Throw something!
I can't! I might hit Jack Jack!
Throw me!
Up there with Syndrome and Jack Jack, Jack Jack rips a valve from Syndrome's jet boots, which propels him upwards, slamming his head into the jet's wing. He loses hold of Jack Jack, who falls. And on the ground, Helen sees this and turns to Bob.
Bob, throw me!
Helen leaps into Bob's arms, forming into a spear shape. Bob takes aim and flings her toward the fallen baby. And in the sky, Helen soars and grabs Jack Jack. She quickly blooms into a parachute. Outside the manta jet, Syndrome regains control. He successfully docks with the hovering manta jet. He stands at the docking doors, his cape blowing dramatically upwards.
This isn't the end of it.
And on the ground, Bob looks around wildly for a way to get at Syndrome and spies his sports car. Regret flashes across his face, and outside the manta jet,
I will get your son.
Syndrome's eyes go wide. Bob's car is soaring above him, tumbling end over end towards the manta jet. Syndrome jumps back as the crafts collide, blowing him off his feet and up towards the wing, towards the turbines. Clawing madly to find purchase, he looks over his shoulder in time to see the end of his cape sucked into the intake. Syndrome screams as he's yanked out of frame. And on the ground, Bob, Dash, and Vi react as the manta jet explodes. Descending through the air with Helen and Jack Jack, Helen cradles Jack Jack facing upwards, his back toward the ground. He looks at her, giggling and cooing.
Look at mommy, honey. Don't look down. Mommy's got you. Everything's all right.
But Jack Jack sees burning wreckage coming towards them and starts to shriek, pointing upwards. Helen turns towards it to see as wreckage crashes on top of them, destroying the Parr home. Helen and JJ are saved. Vi and Helen exchange a meaningful look.
That's my girl.
Does this mean we have to move again?
Everyone chuckles at this. The smoke begins to clear, revealing a lone witness to this cataclysmic event. The Big Wheel Kid, whose eyes are as big as dinner plates.
Oh man, that was totally wicked.
And we fade to black. And then are outside the Parker Stadium, day, a whole 3 months later. The stadium parking lot is about half full on a beautiful cloudless day. The marquee announces junior high track finals. Inside the stadium, young runners loosen up at the starting line of the 100-yard dash. Dash is among them. He waves to the stands, and in the stands, Bob, Helen, and Jack wave back. Coming down the steps is none other than Violet's crush, Tony Ridinger. He waves coolly at some friends and heads towards the concession stand, pausing when he sees Violet and a friend talking nearby. He approaches them.
Hey,
Hey.
you're Violet, right?
With a smile, Vi's friend exits.
That's me.
You look different.
I feel different. Is different okay?
Different is great. Would you,
Yeah.
do you want, maybe we, could,
Violet silences Tony with a single finger on his lips. Tony stares at her in shock and wonder.
I like movies. I'll buy the popcorn. Okay?
yeah, good. A movie. Okay. Friday?
Friday.
On the field, the starter pistol fires and the runners take off. Dash jogs well behind the pack in a confident, easy trot. In the stands, Bob, Helen, and Violet cheer Dash on.
Yay! Run, Dash!
Go, Dash! Come on! Run!
Dash hears them and looks towards the stand.
Go, Dash, go! Pour it on, son! Come on!
Dash, his eyes still on his family,
going!
accelerates
No,
a
Dash,
little
that's
and
too much.
quickly
Come on,
moves
Dash.
towards the front of the pack.
But not too much! Come on, pull it back! Come on, just a little bit!
Dash
Pull
is
it back a
clearly
bit.
confused now, furrows his brow as he again drops back. The family shouts even louder.
But don't give up!
Make it close, baby!
Close! Just second! Yes, close second!
Understanding, Dash accelerates just enough to scare the leader, crossing the finish line inches behind him. And in the stands, the Incredibles are ecstatic. They cheer and laugh and jostle each other as if Dash have won Olympic gold. Dash stands in the cluster of panting, red-faced boys, not even winded, and beams at his proud family.
That's my boy.
Out in the stadium parking lot a few minutes later, the family crosses the parking lot with Dash sitting atop Bob's shoulders, clutching his second-place trophy. Everyone is happy and together.
You were great out there, honey. We're so proud of you.
I saw you in the stands. I didn't know what the heck you wanted me to do.
Then the ground begins to quake. The Incredibles stop as the low rumble grows louder. On the far side of the lot, cars begin to be thrown into the air, tossed about like toys. A gargantuan drill spirals out of the ground, throwing dirt and chunks of asphalt in all directions. People run screaming as the enormous metallic vehicle crests and crashes into the earth. A door opens on top and a hulking figure in dirty overalls emerges atop a rising platform. His ragged voice amplified through a loudspeaker, the Underminer speaks.
Behold the Underminer! I am always beneath you, but no one's beneath me. I hereby declare war on peace and happiness. All will tremble before me.
The camera pans off Bob as he glances at his family. They've already donned their masks, ready as there'll ever be. Camera returns to Bob, revealing that he too has put on his mask. He turns toward their new nemesis and smiles, rips his shirt open to reveal the eye insignia on the chest of his supersuit. Underneath, the logo of The Incredibles. And that's the end.
Oh, yeah.
That was fun. That was all fun.
Yes.
Nice. Good job, everybody.
That was so fun.
Good job, y'all.
Man, oh man, great job, you guys. Wow, that was definitely an endurance
Yes,
run, not a sprint.